Hello, adventurers. Welcome to our very first adventure beyond Maladea, the Pale Lands. Now, if you're watching the Pale Lands for the very first time, this is a one-of-a-kind experience, a duet D&D adventure between Dungeon Master and player. Before we embark on this adventure together, I want to give a huge thank you to all of our subscribers and fans who made this possible. A big shout out to the editors and artists that have been working on this channel with me to make all of this magic happen. And a heartfelt thank you to our community members and everyone behind the scenes who has been making the world of Maladea come to life. With that said, our story begins now. Sylvetta Thade, you are from just north of the capital city of Qantos, the heart of the Empire of Eler, and a beautiful city. It's known for its bustling markets, the trolleys that take people across many districts along the countryside, the beautiful, colorful roofs along the coast, and of course the palace in the bay that rests on the island that is colloquially known as Wolf's Rest. But today, you are not at a market. Today you are not in Qantos, you are not enjoying tea by the coast. Today you find yourself just completely wind buffeted right now. Now, full disclosure, we have had a session 0 before this. So things have happened. You already are missing a few hit points. And we are at level 5 beginning this solo duet adventure here in Maladea. Just complete disclosure of that. So there already is a little bit of backstory here with Sylvetta. But you find yourself completely buffeted by wind at the moment. There is a curtain of swirling dust that is just moving around you. There's grit flying across your face. In your ears, there's this constant roar of the wind. It's pulling at your clothing, it's whipping your hair around, and every single breath that you take right now, you know has to be very careful. It's very calculated because every time you breathe in, you risk inhaling the dust that surrounds you right now. So every breath that you take is shallow, it's measured, and the taste of sand is just ever present in your mouth right now. You are following an old man, Solomon, and you're following his dim, barely lit, barely burning torch through this windstorm right now. It is just a little pinpoint of light that you're following. And he's holding it as he walks slowly through these lonely, barely visible ruins here in this distant desert far, far away from Eler in the east. So before we begin, why don't you let our viewers know what Sylvetta looks like?
Okay, so Sylvetta she's like in her mid-20s, kind of on the earlier side. She has fair skin that's easily burnt from the sun, so right now she's got a little bit of like red on her cheeks. She has fiery natural red hair and blue-green eyes. She is currently wearing some brown trousers while she's hiking through this rough, sandy terrain with a white blouse and a red scarf wrapped around her neck that she's using currently to kind of wrap over her face during this dusty storm. She has a pack on her back and a few weapons strapped to her as she's ready to embark. But for the most part, yeah, that's pretty much what Sylvetta looks like.
Almost 6 months ago, correct me if I'm wrong, almost 6 months ago your father disappeared in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't seen him since.
No.
You probably thought he was dead, probably lost in some sort of archaeological dig site or on the road somewhere that he just never mentioned to you, and you presumed that he was either choosing to stay of his own accord or that he was dead. Until 3 weeks ago, when this old man that you are currently following, Solomon, an old friend of your father's, another famous archaeologist, just like your father, who has also dedicated his life to the study of the ancient world and the study of the history of Alara and everything that happened in the world before written history. So Solomon is a very well-known name, just like Oliver Thade. And 3 weeks ago, Solomon showed up in Qantos, gave you a letter, and the letter was from your father.
My dearest Solomon, my research has led me to unearth bewildering truths that I dare not commit to paper in full, but leave me with hope that things may still be as they once were. I find myself embroiled in a riddle, the solution to which I believe lies in the ruins of Istrakar. Sylvetta holds the key to this riddle. I wish I could tell you more, but I dare not bring either of you into the dangers I am now wrapped up in. I find myself swimming in the dark, but I'm too far in now to turn back. Guide her there. Keep her safe. Most of all, keep her hidden. Remember, old friend, sometimes we have to forge our own history. O. Thade.
Where you are right now, Solomon has brought you to the ruins of Istrakar. This is where you are walking right now, currently being assaulted by the wind. These ruins were once a metropolis here in Nidora. Big city. A long time ago, long before the Age of Shadows, and today they are almost entirely buried in sand. This is the last place that your father was seen before disappearing without a trace. The last person to see him in person was Solomon. So you have ventured into Nidora, the neighboring country of Alara. You ventured 5, 6, 7 days to the east, into these lands, to these ruins, an ancient seat of power in the world, and a land covered in deserts that hold so many secrets. And now you find yourself following Solomon. His torch is your only guide, passing by all these ruins. And you watch as his light starts to descend into some steps, ruins that you barely even saw were there. And very quickly, all of the noise, all of the sand, everything around you becomes shut out. And you are now passing beautiful fading frescoes along the wall. And you're following him, and the only thing that you hear is the echoing of the footsteps. And as you go deeper and deeper, you start passing where the frescoes were faded and hard to tell what they were at the beginning. As you head deeper into these steps, this dark, very narrow corridor. Think like the pyramids of Egypt. Very narrow. At times you're having to kind of hunch over. But as you're passing these frescoes, they start to get more preserved. You can see more of the details the deeper you go, as less of the wind and less of the environment has exposed them. And as you're going down, Solomon, this place was once sacred. It depicts a time of darkness in our past that we've now forgotten. You're descending. You see images of this big star in the sky. Bright, okay. Not any star that were, just a bright object that you see. You see a forest on fire. You see a world on fire, and you're just passing these images as you go down. You see elves in armor clashing against a wall of shadow, creatures whose faces you can't really make out. The deeper you go, the darker the scenes become. As you're descending, you see dead bodies. Then those dead bodies start to become skeletons, deeper and deeper. Then there's a figure standing amidst a field of shadow, creatures that are bowing to him. His face has been stricken, you see, as if somebody carved it away, so that you can't tell who it is. Then you turn down a corridor as you reach the bottom of the steps. You turn down a corridor, you're following his torch into the darkness, and then you see along the wall falling stars. And you see streaks in the sky that are beautifully painted. You see great warriors rising on hilltops. You see them surrounded by halos of light. You see shadows being pushed back. The figure running, retreating, afraid. And then right before you enter this room at the end of the corridor, as these images went from faded to dark to grim to becoming more and more beautiful, as right before you enter this room, you see a beautiful sunrise painted along the walls. And as you step inside, the sunrise continues along the walls. Now, what you're seeing right now is a very simple room. There's a dried up fountain in the center that looks like it has collapsed in on itself. It doesn't run. The last time it ran was you have no idea. There's no evidence of any water recently. But there's a statue on the other side of the room. It's got these big wings that are kind of folded down. And you see that there is inscriptions along the wall. I need you for the very first roll to make me a perception check.
Okay. That is going to be a 22 for perception.
Okay, perfect. So, what languages do you speak?
I speak Nidoran, Rayan, Eldari, Common, and Thieves' Tongue.
Perfect. So, in Eldari, which for the viewers or the listeners, that is Elvish, in Eldari, you see written almost like an arch of words that kind of surrounds or like a halo of Elvish runes that surround the statue that's painted behind it. It says, "Herein lies the secret of the bloodline."
Okay.
And with a 22, is that what you said? A 22 perception, you notice immediately as you enter the room that on the chest of this statue there is a circular, I guess I should say round, not circular, a round indent in the chest of this statue. And I guess also I should say the statue looks like a hooded warrior, faceless. A hooded warrior in beautiful armor. You see Elvish designs, Eldari designs on it. And just standing tall, proud, soldier, or sword and shield in its hand. And then the beautiful depictions all around it. You don't know who this figure is that's being depicted in this statue, but based on everything that you've seen walking down, this room looks ceremonial. But that's the first thing. You're in the doorway, so what do you do?
So like the statue, describe it to me one more time.
So it's a square room. You walk in, and the first thing you see is that right on the outside of the archway, as you're entering the room, on the outside there's this beautiful sunrise, like rolling hills that are painted on the left and right, and a sunrise that's coming up on them. And they're dim in here, but you imagine that when all of the torches in this hallway were once lit, this must have been very beautiful. And as you enter the room, that depiction of the rolling hills and everything continues on the walls on the left and right and goes behind the statue. And then the statue is in a little alcove in front of you, right, on the opposite side of the room, and around it are these Elvish inscriptions that kind of surround the statue, like an arch above it, which say, "Herein lies the secret of the bloodline." In the center of the statue, in the alcove, right, in the chest of this statue, you see a circular hole or an indent or something. And the only thing that's separating you from this is the fountain, which is just like a heap of broken rocks at this point.
Okay. I will step around the fountain and approach the statue.
As you get closer, the necklace around your neck starts to glow.
Interesting. I'm going to walk up closer to the statue and, if I can, just kind of investigate that little indent and just see, like, what does that look like closer up.
Make an investigation check.
Okay. Ooh. 9 total.
9 total?
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at it, I'll give you advantage, and I'll explain why after.
Okay.
That's cocked, yeah.
12.
12. That's okay, because 10 is what I was looking for.
Okay.
What you see, as you step closer, your necklace starts to glow.
Okay.
As you get closer, you notice that your necklace has a bunch of Eldari runes etched around it. It is a beautiful gold medallion. Yeah. It's got all of these runes etched on the outside of it. In the center is a triangle, and attached to that same triangle is an inverted triangle. Okay? So it's almost like a pyramid that's mirrored. Or a diamond with a line through it, if that makes sense. You see that same symbol etched very, very tiny above where that indentation in the chest is. And on that investigation check, you immediately, and with the glowing that, like, this, you feel the pulse coming from your necklace, which you've never felt it do this before.
Yeah.
This is not a magical item.
Yeah, no.
This necklace was given to you by your mother as an heirloom. This is the first time it's ever done anything, and as you step closer and you feel the warmth and the light come from around your necklace, you're very intrigued, and as you get closer, you immediately recognize that your necklace looks like the perfect shape to fit inside the indentation there.
Okay. Well, Solomon, do you think I should see if it works?
You turn around and he is in the hallway, and he's like, he did not step into the room, and he hears you call him. He's like,
Huh? Oh, I will turn to you for that. Whatever you think is right. This is beyond. I haven't done this sort of work in a long time.
All right then. Guess it's all to me. And with that, I will slip the necklace off around my neck, kind of just hold the medallion for a second and look at it in my hand, just kind of feel it for a second and look back at the alcove, and then I will very carefully, kind of still holding on to the chain, because this means so much to me, I don't want anything happening to it, I will gently kind of place the medallion in that alcove spot.
yeah. You place it into the slot, and it's weird because the medallion, looking at it at the face, is round. Mm-hmm. When you look at the other side of it, the inscriptions and everything continue, but what you see is that there's actually like the back of it, how do I say, is slightly smaller. So there's sort of like a lip around the back. Mm-hmm. And so it's not that you're putting in the necklace, it's that it fits the backside, the lip fits on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it like slides in place as if this was built for it. So the necklace is itself still sort of extending out, and there's a piece of it that locks in, but as it goes in and slides into place, you hear this sound of like sharp metal, like as if something in the necklace came out and locked into place. And as you do that, you see the necklace start to spin. You hear some mechanisms turning inside the statue, and then the chest slides open, and inside you see a rolled up parchment.
Okay. I will reach in and carefully grab the parchment.
Are you trying to inspect for...
You know what? I should probably do that first. Yeah, let me investigate real quick and see if there's any traps around.
Okay, yeah, roll investigation.
Hopefully this one will be better. Okay, 19.
19? You're pretty sure there's nothing weird going on here.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. As this thing slides open, you see Solomon kind of peeking in through. He's very curious. Staying quiet. But he is very curious. He's looking, and you can see he's kind of wringing his hands. He seems, I don't know, maybe nervous at the discovery, or... Yeah.
Okay.
But you grab the parchment. Mm-hmm. Do you unravel it?
No, not yet. Okay. I'm just going to grab the parchment. Am I able to retrieve my necklace again from the statue?
Yeah. You give it, like, you touch it and nothing happens, and then you kind of jostle it a little bit, and as you turn and rotate it, it seems to lock out of place. Mm-hmm. And you hear the retracting metal, and you pull it out, and the necklace is free.
Perfect. I'll put it...
Glowing still.
Okay.
And by that I mean the runes on it.
Yeah.
Are glowing, so it gives off this very dim light.
Mm-hmm. I'll grab since I have the parchment now, nothing else seems to be...
Nothing else.
Okay. Then I will turn back to Solomon, like, all right, let's go surface side and check out what this is.
Back to the campsite.
Yeah.
Good, I need to sit.
He turns around and just sort of starts to shuffle, very, like, his torch still burning in the room. You follow that light back up the long corridor. You get back outside, back into the wind, and you can make out in the distance, just barely, the little campsite that you have set up, the tents that are kind of pulled up around it. Very, very difficult to see. There's a lot of wind happening. It's not full on like dust storm, but it's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You know, like you can breathe, you can walk through it, but you definitely are glad that you have a light source out at this night right now. And you walk towards the campsite. You get back there, and as you get closer, you hear music, and you hear Eler, who is your traveling companion over the last week or so, is currently playing music, and the people are all clapping their hands in time with the music, and he turns to you, he sees you coming, he's like, well, it's about damn time.
Well, we had a lot to do, okay?
I thought you died.
We didn't.
You can't die before I make the songs. You can die after, because then they'll probably get more famous, but you can't die before I make the songs. That's why I'm here, for the stories, all right?
All right.
What do you do right now?
So once we get kind of settled, we're in like a more secure place.
Yeah, Eladir follows you,
Yeah.
which for the viewers, he's a handsome, smiling bard in dark black and gold attire. Very, very charismatic. He's got like the shadow of like a beard, but all he has is a little bit of like chin hair going on there, like a straight line. Very black, voluminous, fluffy hair. Perfectly manicured eyebrows. Manicured? Perfectly sure. You can tell he is somebody who cares a lot about his appearance and walks around with with his loot.
Sylvetta's standing there with, dirt kind of smeared on her.
Somehow, he looks pristine. Somehow. But yeah, you get settled, and Eladir follows you. The rest of the campsite, which by the campsite is like maybe 6 people, including Solomon.
Just all archaeologists.
Yeah, and it's like Solomon, who is clearly the oldest and the most experienced, I guess is the polite way to put it. And then there's 1 or 2 people who are probably in conjunction with the university. These people you've never seen, even though you spent your time growing up in Qantos and the university. But they're probably, you're here in Nidora, so they might be from a university somewhere else in Nidora. And then looks like some interns, like 16, 17-year-olds who are here. They look absolutely fucking miserable. Like they're like, one of them is like a young girl with like long hair and she's got spectacles and she's just like got her knees pulled up and she's just kind of like looking around at the sandstorm. She looks like she wants to leave, but here they are. So what are you doing in this moment?
So I'll pull over like a little lantern next to me, and I'll find a good place to kind of just lay down the parchment, and then I'm going to just very, very carefully just start kind of unrolling the parchment open to reveal what's on it.
Yeah, make sure you have a blow dryer and some lemons.
Yeah.
You unravel it, and here in the gloom of this ruin, I just picture Sylvetta silhouetted by the arch, lights a lantern. The lantern goes up, only illuminating this tiny little alcove in these ruins in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the night. This tiny flickering flame illuminating the map. And what you see as you unravel is a hastily drawn map of... Are you proficient in survival or history?
Yes, I actually have expertise in history.
Okay, go ahead and roll history for me.
That will be a 17.
A 17. You don't recognize the land. It is a large... at first you think it's an island. But there's too much detail around the edges. So you think, okay, well maybe it's a large piece of land or something, but this is one you've never seen.
Okay.
But then you recognize the coastline in the north, and immediately you recognize this as the continent of Amoros in the south, which is now known as the Pale Lands.
Okay.
What you see drawn big, so the parchment itself seems to be a map of the Pale Lands, of the entire continent. You see not expertly drawn. This is not a map that was made by a cartographer. This looks more like, here's this landmark, here are these mountain ranges, and a bunch of notes in Eldari across, literally across the face of the map, although they seem to be shimmering. You don't seem to be able to read it in entirety. It seems to shimmer as if like showing one rune over here and one rune over here. Like you haven't been able to pick up a whole sentence. Okay. For whatever reason. It's like the magic isn't showing you what it wants you to see, as if it's waiting for something. But you do see that there's an element of magic runes that seem to be cryptically kind of glowing in and out on top of the map. But the thing that catches your attention is that same reverse pyramid that is drawn in bold red, faded, now brown ink across, basically taking up the entire center of that continent that you see there is that pyramid, as if marking something there in the south.
Interesting.
And everybody else is huddled over. You see all of these faces in the darkness kind of peering over your shoulder, and Eladir's like, wow, So what does that mean?
That means me and you have a long trip.
Great.
Pack your bags. We're
Great.
getting out of here, Elder.
Are we sleeping, though?
Of course we're sleeping.
Okay.
We're not leaving till the storm's gone.
I have been traveling for 5 days in the desert. When we get wherever we're going, we are staying in a room, Sylvetta. I need you to say that we're staying in a room with a bed and a breakfast. Say it. Please say it.
Elder.
Please.
Elder. We will stay somewhere.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I don't enjoy these little escapades out in the countryside.
If we make it out of this alive, I will buy you a room somewhere nice.
Sure. I will hold you to that, Sylvetta.
You can.
I will write you the best damn songs.
I got you.
Please. Okay. Sleep now?
Yes. Let's sleep. Do you still have some more of that whiskey?
Always. You settle down over the next hour or so. Everybody starts to settle down. A new campfire goes up, which, of course, the moment it goes up, the wind outside dies down.
Absolutely.
So people, the younger of them there seem to stay up for a few more hours. There's a constant watch that seems to be going on. You and Solomon and Eleder take up your night in the ruins here. You wake up in the middle of the night to Eleder, who is sleeping kind of with his lute in his hand, back against the wall, who you wake up. Let me ask you, do you think she would be a light sleeper or a heavy sleeper?
Probably a light sleeper.
You wake up to Eleder going, Sylvetta, Sylvetta.
What?
And you see he, without moving, looks like he's still in a sleeping position, nods over towards behind you. You kind of turn your head and look in the direction, and you see Solomon rummaging through your bags.
Interesting.
And you're kind of in the corner of these ruins, and he is over like where your bags are, where the campfire is, where like sort of the entrance is, and you're tucked in away from where the wind was.
Yeah.
Kind of hidden in the shadow next to Eleder, who the two of you probably fell asleep against the wall drinking.
I'm gonna kind of roll over like I am shifting in sleep and kind of like sit up a little bit like I just kind of got woken up in the night. Kind of just pretending. It's kind of odd to me, but I don't want to just cause a weird confrontation right away. And I'm gonna kind of look over and kind of walk over near where Solomon is and be like, hey, Solomon, is there anything I can help you with?
He immediately sits up, and the first thing you notice is your necklace in his hand. He already took that from you. And he immediately gets spooked, turns around, he's got the map in the other hand. And he looks at you and he says, I'm so sorry, my child. You have to understand. A blade goes through his back. And you see he drops both of the things. He just goes, looks at you, coughs up some blood. And you see behind him a figure in black leather armor, a hood, black bandana drawn up to his nose, eyes peering at you in the darkness. And you see the rest of the campsite start to wake up. More figures in the dark, moving in the shadows, attacking the others. And I need you to roll initiative.
Oh, God, okay.
What did you roll for initiative?
I don't think I get anything for initiative,
Okay.
so that's
Just
going
making
to
sure.
put us at a 7.
A 7. Nice. This is for Eleder. Nice. For an 18. And the cultists had a 17.
Of course.
And then the campsite at a nat 20. So you move last. First, the campsite starts to stir. Then Eleder gets his turn, then the cultists, then you. And let's do Solomon poetically at the end. First thing that happens is you hear one of the sort of supervisors, foremen, insert archaeological term here, not elderly, but one of the older figures that was here at the campsite, who you really didn't get to know very much. You were here for a night and a half. One of them wakes up as you
they must have either been on guard duty or were waking up or something, but they saw the moment that the cultist drove the blade into Solomon's back, and he starts screaming, "Intruders, wake up, everyone!" and immediately springs to action, grabbing a knife. It's the only thing he's got. He grabs a dagger from his belongings and is going to move to protect one of the other members of the archaeological site, who you see multiple figures with scimitars drawn hovering over their sleeping bodies. So he is going to move, and that is a miss. So he moves to attack one of them, and both of those figures are able to sort of counter his attack. That brings us to Eler, who, the first thing he is going to do, you see he takes his loot and immediately strings it, or brings it up in front of him, like he's protecting it. Like he doesn't want it on the ground. And you see he pulls out his short sword, draws his short sword, and you see he's just like, okay, come on. And he starts chanting under his breath, and you see he's going to cast Hold Person on the cultist in front of you. He's like, Sylvetta, what are we doing? And that is a fail for that cultist. So the cultist is held in place. You see he instantly, as he's looking at you, almost, you can't see his face, but you know he's smiling. And you see he looks at you and then doesn't move. And it takes you a moment before realizing you feel that sort of strange aura in the air that only magic gives out, and you turn and look back at Eler, who is currently, eyes glowing, holding the person right there, and he's like, it's the best I can do. That is his turn. He is going to move closer to you, to where Solomon is. He's moving to kind of check on Solomon, looking to you to take the lead.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That cultist is held. The cultists, one of them is going to attack one of the sleeping, now awake but surprised archaeologists. The other one that parried the attack is going to attack the supervisor, if you will. That is a miss on the supervisor, foreman. He's going to have a name at some point. And that is a hit on the one who is on the ground. So you see the one who is calling for help, telling people to wake up, is able to just barely miss. Seems to have a little experience with bandits out here, something that you experienced yourself, and seems to have a little bit of combat experience, so he's able to move out of the way from the cultist attack. The person who is on the ground, you see, is a younger boy who takes a blade right into the gut. You see he takes 5 points of damage, immediately coughs up blood and screams out in pain. The girl who was asleep watched this happen in front of her. Her eyes go wide and she starts to scream. That is their turn, because the other one is held in place. It is your turn. And I'm going to look something up.
Okay, how many cultists are there?
There seems to be 3 at the moment.
At the moment.
That's all you can see, yeah. You see 3 shadows, 3 hooded figures moving.
Okay. That makes that kind of hard.
The one in front of you actually gets to make a wisdom save. They are not very wise. He needs a 13. So he has to hit a 13 because he has a +0.
Okay.
So 13 or lower, or 12 or lower, and it's a fail. Fail.
Perfect.
That is a 4. He fails. He remains held in place, caught off guard by Eler's magic. You are doing what?
I am going to reach down to Solomon, and I'm going to say, I'm so sorry, but I have to go. And I'm going to take my necklace and the map from his hands, and I'm going to quickly...
I'll give that to you as part of your movement.
Perfect. I'm going to kind of quickly, just shove them into my clothes, that way they're secure.
Sure, cartoon hiding stuff. Like,
yep.
You slip things into your jacket and somehow they're held in place.
And then I'm going to just kind of pull out my rapier and just kind of say, Eler, let's go. We got to get out.
He's currently kneeling down next to Solomon, and he's just like, he's holding onto his hand. You see the blood pooling around Solomon now. And he just looks at him, he's like, we can't just leave him. What do we do? That is his turn. You're moving to get out of there? You do have 2 horses.
We do have 2 horses.
So are you moving, are you trying to help? Explain, like, you're standing there, you grab your things. Are you staying in that archway, or are you stepping into the shadows? Are you going outside to where the battle is happening? What are you doing?
We're gonna try to stop these cultists. I think that's our best bet. So, I'm going to just kind of ready myself to... I mean, am I close enough to that cultist to be able to take it? Like, have I done my action? Like, could I take an attack
You
on
haven't
him?
done anything so far.
Okay, so, I'm gonna take an action. I'm going to...
So, it looks like we're back. Okay, we're good. We had some technical issues. Hopefully the audio for the first couple minutes wasn't terrible, but it is what it is. You are standing in front of the cultist. Eladir has cast Hold Person on the cultist standing in front of you. He has rushed to Solomon's side. The cultists that you see beyond the ruins where you are have already started engaging with the other members of this campsite here. You are deciding what to do in this moment. You haven't done anything except pick up the map and pick up the necklace. Mm-hmm. So, what is Sylvetta doing now?
I think I'm gonna attack the occultist in front of me with my rapier.
Okay.
That is going to be a 12 to hit.
A 12 just hits.
Perfect. That will be 5 points of damage to him.
5 points of damage. Okay. Okay. You drive the rapier right into his belly, poking him full of that one hole. And as you pull out, immediately blood starts pulling out, and you see him can't move, killing him slowly there. That brings us to Solomon, who is currently bleeding out, and is going to make a death save. That is just barely a success. So Solomon has 1 success, and that brings us back to the top of the round, where that one guy out there is going to, so that is a hit. He's going to deal 2 points of damage to that cultist.
Whoa.
Just barely nicks him across the arm. You hear, and then Eladir, who he is going to cast Healing Word on Solomon. You know what? No, he's not. He is going to, in this moment, he is not focused on that. He is focused on fight or flight, preserving himself, controlling the situation. He's going to attack that cultist. He is going to take his short sword. In one motion, you see he takes the strap of his lute, puts it over his back, and strings it on his back. And in the same motion, brings his sword up into, or he's going to try to get it into the throat of the held guy. Also, you get advantage because he's held.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to roll in case you crit.
Okay, just in case. No.
Okay. Eladir will roll with advantage. That is a crit on the first one. So you see he immediately, right into the neck, the guy's neck bursts open and starts to spew blood, and he goes pale in a few seconds and drops to the ground. That cultist is dead.
Perfect.
Eladir is going to move out, sheaths his short sword, and using his movement, he's going to go to his pack, grab his bow, and ready it. He's already knocking an arrow, and he's like, come on. That is now the cultist's turn, who are going to... The one is going to try and finish the guy off on the ground, which he does. You see, yep, just enough hit points. Brings the sword out and then shoves it right back into a different part in the abdomen, and the guy screams out in pain and then goes limp. The girl screams even louder, and the other cultist is going to attack the... that is a nat 1. You see the cultist is struggling with this one guy, this big beefy archaeologist. And you see as they're struggling, she trips, falls to the ground, and now they are like grappling with each other for the blade that is in his hand. So that is what's happening out there. That brings us back to Sylvetta's turn.
I'm going to attack the other cultist that killed the boy.
Okay.
And try to take him out with my rapier.
Yep.
That is going to be a 12 to hit.
12 to hit. Yeah, that hits. You're rushing out that direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's going to be... Oh my god. That's going to be 4 points of damage.
Okay, to the cultist that stabbed the boy.
Yes, that
okay.
stabbed the boy.
4 points of damage. You cut him across the arm and across... Or you have a rapier. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you slash open this robe, and you see underneath armor. Leather armor.
Okay.
But you see, you just catch him in this one point between the armpits, and it slashes him there, and blood sprays across the sand. He screams out in pain, but he is still up.
Okay.
Is that your turn?
I believe so. Sorry, I'm just looking at some of the stuff that I have. Okay, so I have a question here. So I have something called insightful fighting. It says use sneak attack even without advantage. So would I just be able to say that I'm using sneak attack?
Yeah, let me look it up just to be sure.
This is the only part about rogues that always gets me.
Sure. You are doing the Inquisitive Rogue.
Yes.
You gain the ability to decipher an opponent's tactics and develop a counter to them. As a bonus action, you make a Wisdom insight check against a creature you can see that isn't incapacitated, contested by their deception.
Okay, so if I had done that with that cultist...
You can do it right now. It's just a bonus action and you haven't used it.
Okay, so yeah,
So we can retcon that and say,
Perfect.
Go ahead and roll an insight check
Okay.
against his deception.
That's a 12.
Okay.
Me and the 12s right now.
And a 13.
Fuck!
Just not quite enough.
Okay.
You're too frazzled. You woke
Yeah.
up to the worst possible thing, which was somebody betraying you. And then they had a blade driven into them, and you have not had a moment to really think about this. So that is unfortunately the roll of the dice. Back to the top of the round, the girl, screaming, gets up and starts running into the desert.
Okay.
She is not, well, you know what? Let's roll on let's say, what are the odds? There's probably a 50% chance that she starts running.
Okay.
So we'll say anything under a 10, she runs off into the desert because she is too frightened. And anything higher, 11 through 20, she stays and tries to help.
Okay.
That's a 7.
Oh no.
She books it into the desert and disappears into the darkness.
Okay.
You probably don't even register this. Well, she is screaming. So I'll say that you are aware that she just got up as she witnessed somebody die in front of her and is now running off in another direction. She's about 30 feet from where you are, 35, 40 feet.
Okay.
There's a couple of people who are sleeping in some of the other ruins who are now coming out with sticks.
Okay.
They're rushing the rest of the cultists, but they need their full action and movement to get up to where they are.
Okay.
So there's about 6 people now that are gathered fighting the remaining 2 cultists. And it is now Eladir's turn, who looks at the boy, looks back at Solomon, and looks at you. I can only save one.
Save the boy.
He just gives you a nod, immediately goes over to him, and starts whispering. You see his hands start to glow. That's what he is doing. The boy comes to life, and now it is the cultists who one of them is going to try and strike. Well, the one that is currently grappled on the ground, we're going to make a contested check. This is for the cultist, his strength check. That is a nat 1. This is for the one he is struggling with. That is a 5. So he is just able to keep the cultist on the ground, and you see that he has now got the dagger slowly. Like they're doing like a full-on Saving Private Ryan, fighting for the dagger, and the cultist is the one on the ground just going, stop, 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 stop. The dagger is getting dangerously close to his heart. The one that you are fighting is going to attack you.
Okay.
That is a miss. Actually...
AC is a 14.
Miss.
Okay.
He misses, swings the scimitar, yeah, that is their turn. Sylvetta.
Okay. I'm going to attack that same cultist again. Oh, 18 plus 6, so 24.
24. How many points damage?
Let's see. There we go. Okay, that is going to be 10 points of damage.
Yeah. You, like Arya Stark, you bring the rapier out, and he is in the middle of his attack, and as he's moving up and moving towards you, you just bring the rapier up, and he walks right into it. The rapier goes right into his throat, and he just freezes for a moment, not realizing what's happening before you pull the rapier back out, and his neck literally starts just squirting blood, and he falls to the ground, choking on his blood. He is dead. You see, at this point, it's just, what do you do next? The boy wakes up. He is looking around. Eladir is looking at you. Sylvetta, help them! And he turns, and you can see that the other cultist is still struggling with the guy. Quick check just to see. This is the cultist once again. That is another nat 1.
Wow.
And the guy who he's struggling with, oh god.
This is 6.
A 6, so just a little, but gets it right into him. You hear the cultist scream out in pain. Oh. That is 2 points of damage. He's still alive. It is in his shoulder right now. He was able to just move out of the way, The dagger is now in his shoulder. What are you doing?
I'm gonna try to go up and finish off that
Okay,
cultist.
go for it.
Okay. Let's see. 16, so that is a 22.
Okay.
Hit, and then that's going to be another 10 points of damage.
Instantly dead. You bring your rapier right into his back. You hear inhale from the pain, and then just the cultist goes limp. And you see he stops struggling. The one who's on top just...
I'm going to run over to Solomon in this moment, and I'm going to pull out my one last healing potion. And
You do that. As you turn and run over to Solomon, you see 2 arrows sticking out of him. And you turn and look over onto the ridge, looking over where the dunes are, and you see a figure on horseback, currently hand out with an arrow, like the arrow just got loose. And you see flowing black cape in the wind, barely visible, silhouetted against the night sky, barded horse in full armor, clearly wearing armor of their own, and you see another covered face. You can't make out who they are. Put the bow down and start riding off into the night. Solomon is got 2 arrows, and you look at him and he looks dead. You see the rest of the campsite kind of comes to. They're all shook. Eladir is currently like standing with his hands on his head, just like looking around like shell-shocked, and he's like, I couldn't get them both.
I know, we did the best that we could, Eladir.
What do we do now? We can... We're too far from Qantos. We can go to Saval, capital here. Sylvetta, do you want to keep doing this? And as he asks you that, your brain immediately goes back to that line that your father wrote in the letter. I wish I could tell you more, but I dare not bring either of you into the dangers I am now wrapped up in. I find myself swimming in the dark, but I'm too far in now to turn back. Your father's in danger. That's all you read. And he asks you, do you want to keep pursuing this?
We're too far in. We have to keep going. And we need to get away from these people because clearly they're after us. Eladir, I understand if this is too much for you.
He puts his hand up. Nope. Listen, when I left Qantos, I said I was in this for the story. The story's not over. I'm with you, Sylvetta.
Let's do this.
But now you definitely owe me a room.
I will absolutely treat you.
You see, the rest of you kind of recover, set up a guard. Eladir is 100% with his bow, just looking out into the night. He helps you guys bury Solomon. Here, literally buried with his work. The rest of the campsite, you see, they get on their horses, and as soon as the morning comes, everybody packs up. And everybody, I'm assuming you with them, hit the road, traveling the yellow trail here on the way to the capital city on the coast of Saval. Eladir has been nonstop complaining. He is currently walking up a sand dune, carrying the horse, like leading the horse, and you see he's shaking sand out of his lute, and he's just muttering under his breath. It is now sunset of the second day, and you crest another sand dune. And as you reach the top of the sand dune, you see for the very first time the walls of Saval. You see a breathtaking city in front of you. The first thing you notice is, as you're at the top of this dune, you see the ocean. You are at the coast, you have made it. You see the walls are made of ancient sandstone. There's square towers every 50, 60, 80 feet or so that just on various portions of the wall. You see in the heart of Saval, in the very center, jutting defiantly out of the city that surrounds it, the Ring of Echoes. It is a colossal hill that dwarfs the surrounding city. This massive hill that just rises up in the center. You see its name is derived from the hundreds and hundreds of statues that are carved into it in the little alcoves. Hundreds of statues that surround it. Ancient rulers that are all looking down on the city as it has grown over the thousands of years that the city has been around. The hill itself, you see, is pristine, white, like alabaster white, just clean white walls, but you see streaking across the white surface is like a network of of gold rivers, veins of gold that pierce the whiteness, glimmering. And you see the veins of gold dipping in the alcoves of the statues and behind the statues. And here, even though it's about to set, the sun is just gleaming on that hill, like thousands of little windows on this hill. Just tiny, tiny alcoves that circle the hill. Hundreds of them, thousands of them. At the top of the hill, you see the Undying Palace. This is the seat of power for the Council of Immortals. These are the ones that rule here in Nidora. And the palace itself is adorned with gold and platinum and silver and jade and ivory, all sorts of precious stones and metals. And it's covered in domes and spires, and there's a single tower that rises up above the rest of them. And around this hill, you see the city. It sprawls outward, and you see palms and ferns. You see docks on the eastern side opposite you towards the ocean. You are on the west side, entering from the harsh desert climate. But you have finally found civilization, and you hear Eler as he kind of comes up to the hill next to you, leading both of the horses. Oh, civilization. Thank the gods. And he turns to you, Sylvetta, we are getting a room. We're getting 2 rooms.
Why, you got tired of me that quick?
2 rooms, and he starts walking off. You approach the city. What are you doing?
Well, we're probably getting provisions and...
Sure, you tell me what you want to buy. For Sylvetta Thade, money is not an issue.
It's very true. So I guess first I will take Eler and we'll go get something to drink, something to eat.
You enter the city through those gates. Immediately you're assaulted by the incredible and overpowering smell of both herbs and oils and incense and candles, and also sweat and grime. Dust and meat, fish, the smell of the ocean. It is a sensory overload, and as you are walking in, there are hundreds of people bustling in and out of the marketplace, lined with tarps that cover the actual street from the sun. You see bazaars that break off, underground not underground, but covered marketplaces that are selling everything from fruits and vegetables to weapons and curios and all sorts of things. So if you're looking for, what did you ask for? So just supplies?
Just some food and some water. Just for now, just for the day. I think we're gonna probably spend maybe a couple of days here before we head off for a major journey.
Yeah, I mean, there is plenty of, so many of the stalls can just offer what you just asked for. So unless you're looking for something specifically, you can very easily, we'll call it for food, water, and...
Maybe some alcohol.
Alcohol, sure. Food, water, alcohol, we'll call it 2 gold.
Perfect.
Easy enough for Sylvetta.
Yeah.
She pays for it, and you are hydrated, maybe a little sunburnt. You're fed. And Eler, who has put up the horses in the stable outside the city, catches up with you, and he looks fucking miserable. And he's just looking at you like he's full.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that takes care of one of the problems. I still need a bath, and I will not take no for an answer, Sylvetta. So please, let's go find a room.
Don't worry, Eler.
What are you looking for?
What is one of the nicest places that we could stay at? And if they don't have a bathroom, what would be the nicest bathhouse that we could go to?
Yes. So there is a place that you find. There's a lot of places. Some of them don't have signs. A lot of them look like holes in the wall. But you find. Are you looking for a tavern?
I'm looking for just a nice place to stay.
Okay, so you're looking for a room for the night.
Yeah.
Okay, so you find a place called the Vintage Verse. Beautiful. The funny thing about this place is that the rest of the street does not fit the persona of this building. It very, very much stands out. And what you're seeing is almost like the Flatiron Building in New York, a triangular-faced building that stands on the corner of this crossroad, where there is all sorts of different merchants set up that are all set up in the typical style of what you would find here. You see lots of tarps and coverings like that, stalls, that sort of thing. But this building is a 3-story building, completely white, like it's something out of like a Greek coastline or something like that.
exactly what I want.
Beautiful painted shutters. There's vines growing up alongside the building itself. And it has a perfect view, it looks like, as you're looking behind it. The hill seems to descend a little bit, and it seems to have a view of the ocean and the docks. So while it's not situated in the best area, or at least the most fancy area, it has an incredible view, and it catches your attention.
Perfect. We will go there.
Yep. So you enter the Vintage Verse. Are you looking to buy like their best room?
I mean, not their best room, but like not their bottom tier, like
Sure.
something mid-range.
Sure. The lady at the front, you see like dark-skinned woman, hair pulled tight back, who is just kind of looking at her ledger, and she's like, yes, of course. We can put you in the second story. We have a room that I think you'll like very much. And Eladier comes up, no. 2 rooms. I asked for 2 rooms. Sylvetta, you promised.
Yes.
I want my own bed.
2 rooms, please. Nicest one for the gentleman.
Oh, you're too kind. You are too kind. What she said, please, nicest room, I'll take it right now. I need to go bathe. And she hands him the key. She kind of gives you a glance. We'll call for both of the rooms, we'll call that 10 gold. 5 gold apiece. You are given access, so you have since you chose the medium tier, you have access to the bath downstairs. Eladier is bathing in his own private. Right?
Okay.
If we cut to him right now, he is currently sitting in a clawfoot bathtub, his completely naked, just the balcony doors wide open, looking out into the bay, palm trees growing up right next to the balcony, and he is living life. And then we cut back to you. At this point, it's about nighttime. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, we can say that you've gotten a long rest at this point.
Okay, perfect. How do you do hit points coming back from a long rest?
It just resets back to the top. And your hit dice, you had 3 there, right?
Yeah.
So you regain half of your hit dice. So however many you used before.
Perfect.
Have you played before?
I have.
Great. Yeah, hit points are maximum. All of your spell slots reset, which I don't think you have any spell slots.
I do not have spell slots.
So, what do you do for that evening? Eladier eventually comes to your room wearing fresh, clean clothing. You see this time, normally you see him in black, but he is wearing a frilly collared, deep V-neck, strings loose, very piratey shirt, tight leather trousers, not too tight, but tight for sure, definitely framing his physique. Very nice dress shoes, and you see he's got some bracelets, he's got earrings in that you didn't see before, and he just looks at you. Like, you answer the door and his hands are just up in the frame, and he just looks at you and he's like, what's the plan for tonight? I would like to get drunk.
Okay, let's get drunk then.
You see, he leads you outside. He's already drunk. You can smell it.
Yeah.
You've known him for a little bit at this point, probably about 2 weeks now. He has times where he kind of gets a little depressed, and but right now he's on like the other end of that, where he's very flamboyant and he's feeling himself right now, probably because of the bath. Like in The Sims, when what is it after you take a shower? What is it? You're feeling flirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's feeling flirty right now. His bar is filled up. It's all pink. He is like, every time that you pass somebody, he's talking to them. And let's see, roll a d4 for me.
A d4. That is a 4.
You see a place called the Barrel and Brew. The outside, the wall, like facing the street, is literally made up of how do I explain it? Like barrels that have been stacked on each other.
Okay.
That make up the entire frame of that outside door, but they were like, as you walk in, they were like bisected. So it's literally like somebody made a wall out of barrels, not a wall of barrels, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, like it's just facade on the outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is 100%.
It's not actual structure.
Right. They're not actually barrels. Somebody just like kind of glued barrels to the outside just to give it that look. And you see that the name is painted along, like there's one barrel that is complete and it's sitting outside, or like standing, and you see along the side there, as if it was like painted on by like a company or something, Barrel and Brew. and you enter. And it feels like a dark, there's no windows. It is a dark, hole-in-the-wall tavern that seems quiet, not too busy. You walk inside and there's a few tables and stuff. Not too many people in here at the moment, but there's one long L-shaped bar that is on the left side of the wall. And then you see there's like booths for like restauranting if you wanted to eat here or that sort of thing. Doesn't look like the cleanest place. Doesn't smell bad or anything, but it's clearly, kind of a novelty tavern, and you don't know, maybe you're catching it on the off time or like right now it's like 9 p.m., time-wise, so...
Still a little early.
Yeah, exactly. But you walk in and you see a balding, like thick, like huge forearms is really what I should say. Huge forearms, balding blonde guy with a handlebar mustache who just kind of looks over at you guys. Beautiful blue eyes. Welcome.
Oh, hello.
Eler walks in, like there might as well be like colors flying off of him.
Yeah.
He walks in, he's like, hello, give me your finest, please. You guys order a couple rounds. What are you doing tonight?
I think I am going to kind of start asking around of anybody who knows maybe anything about the Pale Lands and how we might be able to get there.
Sure. Roll a, let's do charisma. So
Okay.
Let's see, performance or persuasion.
Okay.
Just you're talking to people now. Are you laughing because it's low?
Yeah, I don't have,
Yeah.
it's a flat roll, so.
Okay.
Hey!
What? Nat 20? Nice.
Nat 20.
You're sitting down and you're thinking, man, how am I gonna get any information about this vague place across the ocean, this new world that barely anybody's ever been to? And as you're thinking this, you're like, this is gonna be the most difficult thing. I don't know if I'm gonna find anybody. Somebody sits down right next to you, this old, shirtless, ripped, bald man, but you see he's got this thick, like, walrus mustache, like almost completely white, and he just sits down next to you and he's like, I got a story to tell you. And Eler, as he sits down, Eler immediately is like, oh, what the fuck? Like, he is completely caught off guard. And he's just sitting there staring off like 1,000-yard stare. Like he would probably be doing this if nobody was sitting there. And he is just staring at you and he's like, you ever been to the Pale Lands?
Well,
I'll tell you about them. They're not for the lighthearted. But I was lucky. My friends weren't so lucky. They got colony sickness and they didn't make it.
colony sickness.
Yeah, it's boils, and I would say that you spending so much time in the city, you probably have heard of this. Colony sickness is a relatively new, call it a plague or a disease. There is a sickness that is only affecting people that live in the colonies.
Interesting.
Now, and I guess for our viewers, the Pale Lands, where you currently are, Sylvetta, you are in Nidora. Mm-hmm. Looking at the map, you are along the bottom of the northern continent. The Pale Lands sit across the ocean, this brand new, basically unexplored area that comes with a lot of ghost stories, especially from sailors.
Okay.
But you don't really believe in any of that stuff. Like, it's a place filled with new creatures, new discoveries, ancient cities, ruins, things like that, things that you love. And you being who you are, you've been out there, like you were attacked 2 nights ago, and the night before that. So you're not somebody who is scared very easily. Mm-hmm. And you hear all of these stories, and you're like, whatever. Like, some people aren't cut out to be explorers like you are. Not everybody can do what you do, and you know that. You have heard of this colony sickness. For whatever reason, it only affects people out there. But everything about the colonies on the other side of the ocean comes with this sort of danger.
Okay.
And, like, there's just an inherent danger because it is unexplored and untamed.
Gotcha.
And that's how you understand it. But this guy, you see, he is shirtless as if he was like, I mean, honestly, he's built like a sailor. Mm-hmm. And you see, as he walks in, or as he's sitting there with you, you see the bartender comes out and he's like, "Oh, hey Tom, like same as always." He's like, "Yeah. So where are you from?" He's looking at you.
I'm from Qantos up in.
You're from
Eler.
the Empire.
Yeah.
Well, what brings you out this way? And you see he's just staring off into the distance.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Pale Lands. Seems my fate's taking me there.
Let me tell you about those Pale Lands, little girl. And he stares off into the distance again. I lost 14 of my best friends out there. One of them died from a leg thing. He got it before. So 13 of my friends died out there. And you see he's just staring off, 1,000-yard stare. Tom, you lock eyes with Tom, who's kind of looking back at you, and he's just like, yeah, this is normal. He continues to tell you all sorts of stories. From what you can tell, he has stayed almost exclusively in the city of Martine, which is there's no capital in the colonies. There's no country.
Yeah.
Along those coasts there. It's sort of wild lands. People go there to disappear, or they go there to start new lives, or they go there for the adventure, or for that sort of thing. But if there was a capital, if there was one place that was like the stopping point, it's the city of Martine. So it's kind of like saying that I've been to Mexico and he only went to Cabo.
Okay.
He is talking to you exclusively about what it's like to be along the coast. Looking at the map, or remembering back to that map, you're not going to the coast.
Yeah.
But he's telling you about this, and then he starts to get into, he starts talking about a captain that he sailed with, Captain Mishgrim. And he starts mentioning this captain, saying on a nat 20, he's just like, I wouldn't recommend you go there, but if you had to, Mishgrim's the way to go. Now let me tell you about my friend Nicholas. He wasn't very bright. He had this pet chicken, you see, and he starts going off on this story. And apparently, as you're continuing this conversation with him, Mishgrim happens to make port here all the time. And if that is somebody you wanted to look up here in the city, you could do that. How drunk are you trying to get tonight?
Not very. I'm kind of laying Eladier.
Yeah. He is currently flirting with a dude on the other side of the... like, he has moved multiple seats. It looks like he was trying to get away from this guy you've been talking to.
Yeah.
Now he is at the other end of the bar, towards the door, talking to some guy right now. And he is just, like, leaning in. He's doing his thing. What is your passive perception?
My passive perception is a 15.
There is somebody that, somebody who's been shooting you looks throughout this entire conversation.
Okay.
And you're only just now noticing it because at this point, at first it was like, am I overthinking it? Mm-hmm. Is he just looking in my direction?
Yeah.
As you've been talking to this guy, asking him questions, finding out about the captain, hearing his stories about this Nicholas and his chicken, you have noticed that this guy has shot glances over at you a few too many times.
Okay.
And I will say that, make an insight check.
That is a 16.
16. You catch a few details. The color of his cloak, the symbol on his neck, little things here and there. He's from Alara. That's the first thing you notice. He's not from Nidora. He's not a Nidoran. He is an Imperial. And the second thing you notice on that insight check is that he is being a little shifty. He seems a little fidgety.
Okay.
And there's been like one or two times where you've locked eyes and he immediately looks away. The way he's behaving, he's got his hood up. He doesn't want to be seen. And it's just your sharp eye, because you haven't been drinking, has noticed that he's been sitting here for a while. Maybe he's waiting for somebody, but he doesn't want to be seen here.
Got you. I am going to order my friend another drink next to me, my new friend.
And anyways, he took that chicken everywhere, and when I tell you that I have never seen a depressed chicken in my life, but when he died, that chicken was at his grave every single morning. Oh, thanks for the beer.
Yeah, on your friend.
Yeah.
Well, good talking to you, man.
You can find me here most nights. I'll tell you more stories.
Got you. I might be back. Thank you for the information. Cheers. And then I'm going to walk over to where that guy is. Is he sitting at a table?
He's
or
sitting
is he...
at a table in the back corner. Closer to you than he is to Eladir.
So I'm going to go kind of sit... I'm going to go right up to him. I'm going to go right up to the table. I'm going to sit down right in front of him with my drink. And I'm just going to say, all right, I see you. What?
He immediately jumps when you sit down, but then when he looks at you, he eyes you.
And I'm going to, by the way, just kind of have, like, not that he would notice, but I'm kind of, like, putting my hand kind of close to where my ashen blade is.
Okay.
Just in case.
You see he looks at you, thinks for a moment. His eyes are shifty. They're darting around like he wants to run or something. But he sits and he stays. I've heard of you. I know what you're doing. If I know what you're doing, other people do too, and you should be very careful, Miss Thade.
And who are you to warn me to be careful?
I would tell you, but you're not going to be alive to care in the morning. And you see he immediately shifts and he goes to stab you. I need you to roll a quick initiative.
Oh, okay.
It has also gotten busier in here, so he's doing this in a crowded place.
Got you, okay. That will be a 20 for initiative for me.
Ooh. That is a very low initiative roll for him. So you act first. You, having already gotten ready, see him going for a dagger under his cloak, shifts, and the moment he starts pulling it out, what are you doing?
I'm going to grab my ashen dagger, and I am going to... I'm going to stab him with it, like, right in the chest, and I'm going to say in his ear, you get the fuck out of here right now.
All right,
or
so
there's gonna be a problem.
roll to attack. And if you want, you can use...
So roll for that first.
Yes.
Okay. So that would be...
Against his deception.
Yeah, so 9 plus... And what is it? Hold on. Take the deception.
It is a 9 deception.
Mine is a 14 insight.
You're rolling... Okay, insight. So, bonus action. So, you get to use your sneak attack. You immediately spot the one place that there is no leather armor.
Okay.
And you get to roll your sneak attack.
Okay. Sneak attack. 3d6.
Damn.
Plus my regular attack, right?
Yeah.
Which is a d4.
You hear Eladir in the other side. Oh, you're so funny.
Sorry.
There's people just laughing. The whole bar is crowded. There's music probably at this point. Let me take this too. Wow, that's some pretty good rolls.
Okay, so we have 3, 6 plus 8, that's 12, 17.
Plus your dex.
Oh, plus 3, so 20 points of damage.
You drive the blade into him. This is a flaming dagger, right?
Yes, with fire damage, yeah.
You sink it right into him. His cloak starts to catch. And he is just, You say that to him. He coughs up blood. Black blood. You see, the first thing is as the flames start to catch around him, the shadow that you see on the wall from the is not the shadow of what he looks like. You see something else. And as he dies, you see the image that you see disappears. And you see underneath this horrifying feathered face, this you see a beak. You see, like, there are elements of skin, flesh. The eyes are piercing and yellow. You see the hair is more like feathers. Ears are black and pointed. You see feathers fading to skin underneath the cloak. clawed hands that go from black to pale. And you see he's just eyeing you, coughs up the blood, and dies right there, and then the flames, and he starts to melt.
What the fuck? Oh, God, okay, are people around me starting to see this?
A couple of people have turned around who are, at this moment, only seeing flames on a chair and black.
I'm just gonna kind of pat out the flames and be like, okay, buddy, it's too much. And I'm just gonna kind of like hoist him over my shoulder and be like, he had too much to drink.
His body is melted.
Oh, it's melted. Okay,
Yeah,
never mind.
his body has
Never
turned
mind.
into, like, there's just a black goo in the seat that he was in.
God.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go to the back of the bar to Elodie and be like, we've got to go right now.
He's in the middle of a conversation, right? Yeah. What? So this is my friend Sylvetta. She's being very rude right now. What?
And then I'm gonna be like, look over there.
He turns and looks. What? The goo?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
We need to get the fuck
No. Sylvetta.
I'm
night.
sorry. I'm sorry. We need to go.
I'm so sorry. If you're here, if I gotta, you pull him out. I'll call you, and you pull him out, and you guys walk out into the main street. At this point, what are you doing in this exact moment? You step out into the late night.
I am going to survey the area and see if there's anybody around that might look a little shifty.
Nobody. Well, make a perception check.
Perception. 17.
You look around. Your trained eye. You're looking at the rooftops. You don't see anything.
Okay.
Looking up and down the street, down the alleys. You step out into humid, sweet, salty air. It's a really nice night, honestly.
Okay, I'm gonna turn to Elder and be like, what did you leave in the room? Do we need to go get anything?
My loot.
Okay, we're gonna get that and we're getting the fuck out of here now.
All right. Can you explain along the way?
Yeah, I'll explain.
And you guys turn and you start telling him all about it. And you head back to the vintage song. Vintage song? Vintage wine. The vintage verse. I was close. You head back to the vintage verse to gather your things in an early checkout.
At this point, telling Elodie that, there might be a captain at the docks.
What, now, I thought we were going to be here for like a week. Now you're saying we need to go now?
Yeah, well, do you want to fight off more of these fucking weird bird creatures, or do you want to just get the fuck out?
No, that doesn't sound fun at all.
Okay, they're gonna just keep coming for us. We either go and end it now.
Well, can we stock up on some alcohol then? I will do that. You know what? How about you go get my loot? No, I don't trust you. I will get the loot, you get the alcohol, and he starts walking up the steps, up the building, and inside up to his room.
You are currently wandering the streets of Saval. It is nighttime. Where are you heading right now?
I think we're going to head back to the place that we were staying at to gather our gear, and then I think we are going to head immediately to the docks.
Okay, so I believe, I don't remember, and sorry to the listeners or viewers if we already touched on this. I believe that we ended off with Elodie already having gone and grabbing his loot.
Okay.
Which is all he really cared about. But because you were able to get your loot, you grabbed your stuff, you came back to the room, grabbed all your things, and now you're basically heading to the docks? Is that okay. Yeah. So you head to the docks. You see, when you get to the docks, there's all sorts of like greenery growing off of the beach. The docks themselves are like wood and stone. They're sort of like stone foundations that go into the water. And there's wooden piers and stuff that have been built on top of these stone foundations. But there's like ivy and all sorts of like ocean plants and things growing up onto these foundations and stuff. Very green, lots of palms, lots of ferns, that sort of thing. But at the moment, the docks are actually pretty quiet. You can hear people in
The taverns nearby, you can hear people wandering around because it's only about 10 p.m. It's really not that late. So definitely a lot of people who have been working all day are taking a load off in the tavern. So you can hear laughing, you can hear music, you can hear the occasional conversation. But of all of the ships that you see here, they're all shut down, it looks like, except for one. There's one ship that you see that is currently being loaded. You see in front of you this really big black galleon. It's this giant ship, not the biggest ship in the port, but this big ship, multi-decks. You see multiple masts, right? There's 3 masts rising out of it. On the front sail, the main sail, the middle mast, the largest sail on the ship, you see a massive black eye that's been painted on it, with a sort of sunburst design around it. You see that the hull looks like it was once painted gold, but most of it has been like eaten away by the salt and like there's just like pieces of gold that like sometimes shine with the torches nearby, mostly just wood color. And you see that the trim of the ship, which has been actually kind of kept up, is black trim.
Okay.
Yeah, multi-decked ship, huge ship, and it's currently the only one that's being loaded. But you and Eladier race down there. Eladier is kind of holding onto his loot, and when you stop at like the main kind of junction where the docks are extending left and right in front of you, you kind of look around, and Eladier is just kind of, what are we doing?
We're looking for that ship that guy told me about.
Yeah, and if you remember, actually, he told you about the captain. I don't think he told you the ship's name.
Right.
He told you the captain's name was Mishgrim. So, I mean, you're looking around. You see one ship. It's up to you if you want to go to each of the ships and sort of look.
Is there possibly a like a deckhand or somebody who like charts in like the ships on the docks?
Yeah, so like a dock master.
Yeah.
Usually, yeah, but not at the moment. You see that if there is one, they're not working right now. It's much too late.
Okay. So that ship that's getting loaded up, is there like crew that's like kind of like on the deck?
Yeah, like they're literally like in the process of loading things. You see that most of the crew looks really fucking tired.
Okay.
And they're just walking up and down the planks, and you see somebody who is, you can't really hear right now, but you see somebody is barking orders at them.
Okay. I'd like to go up to one of the people and just ask them if they know about the captain that I'm looking for.
You go up to one of the people that are loading the ship?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. They turn around, immediately start whistling at you. Like when you walk up, they're catcalling you. And you see Eladier, like, who kind of looks at you, just goes, okay. You walk up to one of the guys, you ask about the captain, and you hear somebody say, "Oi, Captain, somebody's looking for you." And you see this person who has like been barking orders turns around and looks down at you and just slowly starts making their way down the plank, the gangway, the walkway. I don't know, nautical terms. You see he starts walking down. Immediately, big smile, and pretty handsome guy. He's got like slicked back hair that's like kind of, it's long, reaches his shoulders, and then kind of wisps out at the end. He's got a very nice like goatee, beard, like trimmed mustache, like very elegant looking, handsome man. Looks to be like in his late 30s. Dark eyes, dark hair, dark eyebrows, everything. No gray or anything. He's very handsome. You see he walks down. He's also wearing like a big poofy white collared shirt, you know, black coat.
Okay.
Very, very elegant black coat that matches the ship in that it's black and gold and also looks like it's seen better days. But he's walking down the gangplank and he's got like a cane as he walks, so you hear this like tuk, tuk, as he's walking down. He's like, well, looks like a little fish has gotten herself lost. Oh, and she's a pretty one. What can I do for you, love?
I'm looking for passage to the Pale Lands, and from what I've heard, you might be the only one that could take us there.
Yeah, he looks you up and down. Not like it's surprising that somebody is trying to go to the Pale Lands. It's more like he's surprised that you're trying to go to the Pale Lands. Looks at Eladier, who is still out of breath, sees the little bit of sweat that's probably developed on both of you, and just, you running from something?
I'd like to say we aren't, but it seems like we are.
He like claps his hands. Oh, aren't we all? Well, I was actually just heading to Balva. I can take you if you can pay.
Oh, I can pay.
See, love, you have to understand, it's around 400 miles. That's like a week on the seas if we don't run into anything. That's gonna be 40 gold
Great, no problem.
each.
Yeah, that's fine.
You see, kind of like, wonderful, lads. He like points and like everybody starts like they're looking at like the whole time their like eyes were going from them or from him to you, from him to you, and then when you say the gold, they're like, holy shit. Immediately start like coming over to you like, oh, can I help you with the bag? Can I help you? Like, but somebody's trying to take the loot from Eladir and he's like, stop, I've got it. You fork over 80 gold. Holy crap.
Perks of being who I am.
Yeah, money is not an issue for you. And you have officially been introduced to Shiloh Mishgrim, captain of the Black Oracle. You see, he starts loading your things up. But by the time the sun is up, the whole ship is out on the ocean. As the sun is rising the next morning, it takes a few hours for everybody to load up and everything. But by the time the sun is rising, the city of Saval is behind you. And the sun rises and you see the entire, the Ring of Echoes in the center of the city with that giant palace and all of those statues around it that spiral around it. As the sun rises, the sun hits the hill, which, if you remember, has the veins of gold that are etched into it. Not etched, because it's just a natural formation. It looks like if they wanted to have built a mine here, they could have hit a jackpot. But instead of building a mine, they decided to build a palace on it instead. So you just see the veins of gold stretching up and around the massive hill in the center of the city. You see the walls all the way around it. Super far away, but as the sun rises, the whole hill starts to glow as if you're looking at a lighthouse or something. And you guys are out on the ocean. So before we get into anything, I want to ask you what it is that Sylvetta is trying to do over the next few days. In those few hours that the captain had you and in those few hours while the captain was loading the cargo and doing all of that stuff and prepping for the journey out, what are you doing and what do you plan on doing over the next week, potentially maybe more?
Okay, so the first thing I think I'm going to do is just kind of write a little bit in my journal about what had happened and just trying to keep track of everything. That way we have kind of records. So going over, going to the Tavern, meeting that one guy that gave us all the information about going to the Pale Lands, what he had said. The ripped older man? Yeah, the walrus mustache, yeah. And then I'm gonna go into the details of, the person that we met, and then that confrontation that we had, and then finding the ship, and then probably making little details about what I noticed about the ship.
So you're journaling? I'm
journaling right now, yeah. And then over the next few days, I would probably like to ask the captain for his any maps that he has of the Pale Lands and the general area and stuff like that. That way I can start comparing the map that I have that I got from those ruins.
When do you ask him?
Probably the second day, I would say. I'd probably give us a little bit of time to kind of just adjust. Okay. I'd also like to talk to the captain himself too, just about his experiences.
Sure. Go ahead and roll a d6 for me.
Okay.
As you're heading out, still close to shore, right? Relatively only a few miles away from the shore. Go ahead and roll a d6.
A 5.
Okay. For the first day, it's really calm waters. And for how much time do you think Sylvetta has spent on a ship?
Probably not much, but I would say probably more than the average person has, but not enough to where she's obviously only ever been on them probably as a child here and there, probably when her father went on certain excursions, things like that. Maybe a handful of times in her life.
Okay. Maybe been a few years at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so for somebody who hasn't been on a ship in a long time, you're thinking, wow, this is really nice, the winds are really calm, the seas are really calm. But you're not making any headway.
The ship is barely moving, and you can hear a few of the crewmates who are, just
because there's no wind or
exactly. It's a little too calm.
Yeah.
And they're you're making time, right? It's not like the ship is just standing still, but it's one of those days where it's like it was a nice day out at sea, but without engines, the ship just isn't going as fast as you would hope and as fast as the crew would hope. And you can hear them talking, like, getting bored and shit like that.
Yeah.
So for the first day, nothing really happens. The sun rises, you leave the city, and the sun sets, and you haven't really made it very far from the coast.
Okay.
But the next morning comes, and you go up to the captain, you ask him for maps, which he kind of looks you over. You ask him, and he gives you a smile, and he's like, right, come on. Takes you into the captain's quarters. You see this table where you can see journals and a lamp and quill and ink and stuff. Like, you can see he's somebody who's very organized.
Yeah.
Starts going through papers, puts them on the thing. You see maps of Barbor. So Barbor is sort of a tropical wildlands. We'll call it that for lack of a better word. It is directly next to, right, like it across this river here, is where the border of that area starts. The colony is on the other side of this river. Colonies. But from the little bit that you've heard of Barbor, it's basically a pirate haven.
Okay.
There's very little presence of any military power at all there. Like, people just haven't settled there.
Okay.
So it's kind of a place where nobody, sort of like a new world feeling, right? Like the U.S.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You go, you stake your claim, and if you can defend it, it's yours.
Yeah.
Basically. So a lot of people who are running away or wanting a life of crime or trying to go somewhere where there's nobody else, they go there, find their peace along the coast. And it's led to a lot of growing thieves guilds and stuff like that because there's nobody to check them.
Got you. Okay.
Yet.
Yeah.
And the Empire has been thinking about trying to set up some sort of power system there. But he's showing you maps of Barbor. He's showing you maps of basically everything along the northern coast, Averseen and Dimdell and all of these places along the northern coast. He's showing you not exactly like a full map of each country, but sort of like, here's what's all along the coast, and here's a little bit of the inside, blah, blah, blah. A lot of them look hand-drawn. Place them to you, and the whole time that you're going through them, I imagine Sylvetta picking up a lantern and sort of, holding it up in front of her and digging through the things. He is leaning on the table, watching Sylvetta. He's just looking at her like, so what's someone like you got to do there?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but
I've got time, love.
Someone very close to me has gone missing, and I think it has to link with something over there, so just trying to see what I can find.
He gets a little, he feels like an asshole now, right? Because he's trying to hit on you a little bit, try to flirt, and you're like, you drop some real life stuff on him, and he just goes, yeah, that's rough, sorry, love, and kind of stands back up, and right, well, you're welcome to take them, but just not in here, so if you could just get out.
Yeah, I actually had a few questions for you as well. So, how long have you been going back and forth to the Pale Lands?
Oh, quite a few years now.
And how has been your experience?
These are dangerous waters. I don't really set foot on land. My place is out here, but it's a tough place. I hope you can protect yourself.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean...
You look like easy pickings.
Yeah, I look a little easier than I actually am.
All right. Get out, please.
I will do.
You grab your things, take them. Roll a d6.
6.
Okay. Weather is great over the next night. Nothing happens. You go to bed. You continue on to your second night. Things start to pick up a little bit. You're now very much in open water. You've traveled at least 100 miles at this point.
Okay.
So you're about a quarter of the way there. Nothing has happened, and you go to bed.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to do in particular before you
you know?
Probably just share a drink with Eler, just kind of chat, apologize for him not getting the full lavish experience that he wanted.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. You promised me my own room, and I got it for like 4 hours, and then I'm now stuck on a ship. After you murdered someone...
Okay, you saw that goo, right? That was not a someone. That was a thing.
I don't know what I saw. It's fine. I love sharing a hammock with you.
I promise when we get back, you will have the experience that you want.
I will hold you to that, Sylvetta.
Yes, you can. I promise.
My own room.
Yes.
For a night.
If I have to sell my sword to do it, I will, Eler.
Oh, there's no reason to get extreme. Is anything else that you do?
No, that's pretty much just it.
Did you mention, are you trying to pull out the map at all?
Probably like during the day I might have a little bit and compared.
Okay. You're looking, so yeah. You pull out the map. You're comparing the one that you found in the statue to the one that to the ones that he's got.
Yeah, I'm trying to basically kind of see if I can line up like the land mass shapes, and then see if I can maybe chart some similarities on the newer map to that one, because that one, the original one, was kind of missing things, right? Like it was just very quickly.
So the original one is not necessarily that it's missing things. It looks like it's drawn by a cartographer, right? Like, I mean, it's very clearly hand drawn by a person, as opposed to being like a printed, like professional imperial, like military kind of map or whatever.
Yeah.
It does look hand drawn, but where the problem lies is that there's this big red X, sort of in the continent, and by that I mean it takes up like a good 70% of the page. And then around almost like a frame on the paper, there's runes, but as you're looking at them, not just the runes shift, as in like they shift into different languages, like you're looking at multiple letters, like different alphabets are just moving.
Okay.
They're shimmering, there's like this sort of bluish shifting into yellow glow in the ink that's written on it, which immediately, you're not super versed in magic. So you're not sure what's going on, but there's definitely something happening in this ink. There's some sort of magical lettering here, some sort of magical message. You don't know. And the X itself also seems to almost like blur and is not exactly in one place. It's not one size. There is something protecting this page that is making it hard for you to decipher anything other than the black outline of. So you can see the map, like the actual continent is not moving, but it's the stuff that was drawn on top to like reference things that is shifting and moving and very, very
Okay.
It's just blurring.
Can I possibly do like a history check or something that could tell me like, is there any of the languages that I could pick out and know like the language of them?
I will say this, make an Arcana check for me.
Arcana check.
Damn.
Natural 20 plus a 6, so 26.
Okay. Wow. You haven't practiced magic for yourself, but you have read some books, and in this moment, you remember a specific passage in one of the books that you read. Since you did study at the Institute of the Empire, you are looking at this passage, or at this map, and what you're seeing is not that it's shifting into different languages, it is coded magically. So there are some letters and words, and not even words, it's letters that you recognize, but it's like matrix language. You know what I mean? Like, it's shifting, it's gibberish.
It's a code of some sort.
It is, magically protected.
Would I possibly know of any way to... I don't even know.
Since you're not looking for anything on the map, you're just comparing it, make a perception check for me.
Okay. 13, 5, 18.
There is a small, almost... I don't know how to explain it. It's sort of like a small little mark on the bottom left of the entire page. You know how, like, paper, right? Like, our paper is so compact. And it's made so densely and it's bleached and stuff, so it's perfect white, right? But handmade paper has this sort of like texture to it that you can look at the light and you can see the grain and stuff of the thing that was used to create it. there is what looks like a brand, or at first when you looked at this paper, this bottom left corner just looks like it's another piece of the texture, but it looks too purposefully placed and so different from the rest of the texture. You see what appears to be multiple moon symbols. So you see like a symbol. How do I explain it? Like, I'm trying to do this like flowery without just telling you what it is. What you see is what appears to be the planet and 2 moons next to it. It looks like, and they're crescent moons.
Okay.
And that just seems to be in the bottom corner.
Okay.
You look at that and you're like, that's weird. No idea what it is.
Okay. Would I... No, you say I don't know what it is. Will I know any way to uncode this magic?
Okay, so for that, I will say roll an investigation check.
Okay.
Nice.
16 plus 6, that is a 22.
Okay, with the 22, right, like, so you're perceiving things on this paper, right? You're looking at it, you try to understand the magic that's underneath it, you tried to take a better look at it, you saw this symbol. Now you're trying to Sherlock Holmes some sense out of it.
Yeah.
And immediately, you're looking at that symbol, you're seeing the shifting, the light is hitting the page, the sun is like pouring through. Are you below deck or are you up top?
Probably below.
Okay. So yeah, you're down below. There's some light pouring through like one of the slats. There's like a porthole window there that it's currently open. They gave you like a good room, quote unquote. I mean, it looks like a storage closet basically, but they emptied it and you have a hammock on top of Eladir.
Yeah.
Like you're sort of squished in this part, but you're like laying in the hammock and there's light pouring onto it, and then you're staring at that little symbol in the corner, right? Like this is the part where the camera zooms in and you're just staring at it and you're like, moonlight. Moonlight, because you're seeing the sun hit this beam and it's shifting it even more, and you realize maybe it needs moonlight. That's where your brain goes.
Okay, so then wait for the evening and then...
That's up to you, right?
Yeah.
But as you do that over the day, the sun sets, your second day closes. Are you...
Yeah, I'm gonna grab Eladir. Hey, Eladir, I think I figured out this map. Come with me, come on. And then I take him up
You're like kicking him under you?
Yeah, and I take him up to the top deck. Like, alright.
Won't even let me sleep.
Just, come on.
Just dragging his feet up the steps.
We gotta know this stuff. We're gonna go there, okay?
Yeah. You open the door as you head up. You open the door and immediately you're just hit by the sound of the ocean, which is starting to churn a little bit. You're in deep waters now, and it's starting to get a little rockier. You've definitely felt it, and there's people on watch currently right now, and there's somebody at the helm. And you go out, and what do? You pull out the...
Yeah, I'm gonna pull out the map and look at it through... There's a moon tonight, right?
There's a moon.
Okay, I would like to view it.
Very, very Pirates of the Caribbean moon, where it's like there's some...
Clouds.
There's some clouds, and there's actually multiple moons, you know this.
Yeah.
But there is one that is sort of like most present, which currently is shining brightly down on the ship.
Okay.
It's not like ours, where ours is white.
Yeah.
It's a very gold moon.
Okay.
And yeah, without going into details. Anyways, so you pull it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna view it underneath the light of the moon.
Okay. Immediately the everything shifts. Like, it's like you pull it out, and as soon as you pull it out, as the light hits it, it's like vanishing ink. It just disappears. The X shrinks, and you see it shift below a mountain range. Somewhere deep in this, like the map at that part is not very detailed.
Okay.
It just shows a shit ton of trees, like a forest, and the X sort of in there, sort of in like a southwesterly area.
I'd like to take a little bit of like my ink and quill, and I want to just like, in the spot that now the X is at during the moonlight, I would like to actually draw on the map.
Okay,
the
smart.
proper X.
Yeah,
that way I know.
You mark it. What you also see appear in sort of blood red ink, in common, which I'll let that investigation check continue, was written later.
Okay.
You can tell by just the age of the paper versus the way the ink is.
Yeah.
You know, knowing your knowledge of history, which you do,
knowing how people wrote, and then the map itself looks to be much too old for this to be. What I mean is that because it's written in common, there's no way that a human was around in the time
that it was written.
That a human wrote whatever is on here in common.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's got to be sooner than the elves, because the map is definitely elvish in design. You can tell.
Okay.
So there's no way that they were written at the same time. Your brain immediately connects that. You see this handwritten thing on the front. You see written there in common in a very beautiful kind of cursive font. It says, "Beneath the shadow of Arya's rise, the door that guards the world's demise. Shadows that hunted shall gather once more, the sleeping tyrant gathered for war."
I'm gonna write that down in my journal.
You write that down, and your brain starts turning. And that's around this time, you feel the entire ship, like the whole thing just stops. As if an anchor was dropped suddenly, somebody goes overboard. They got lurched forward and went over the railing, and you hear people start stirring under the deck. The captain breaks out, he is shirtless, just in trousers, like sleeping trousers, opens the door, draws his sword, and he's looking around. People are talking or whatever. There's lots of commotion. The whole ship has stopped. You heard it just creak.
Yeah.
It just and just it hit something. You're not sure. Everybody starts drawing their things. What do you do?
I'm going to roll up the map, and I'm going to tuck it in my shirt. That way I know it's kind of secured. And then same thing with my journal, I'm gonna tuck it away as well. And then I'm gonna draw out my short bow at first.
Okay. Eleder reaches into his boot and pulls out a dagger, and he's just looking around. Everyone's scared.
Yeah.
You look around and you see that these are sailors. They're tough, right? They go back and forth across some of the most dangerous waters, and they're looking around oh fuck. You tucked your stuff away. You hear the one who is overboard. People immediately, obviously, when the guy went over, people were like, "Man, overboard!"
Yeah, and people getting him.
Yeah. Somebody looks over and doesn't move. They just stay stuck looking into the water. And then somebody else is like, "What? What's going on?" And he looks at him, and he's smacking him in the back of the head. He's like, "Oi!" Smacking him over and over, and the person just looking, and then he follows his gaze, looks in the water, and smacking him, freezes.
Oh, weird. Okay.
You notice somebody else on the other side of the ship does the same thing. They look over, they freeze. Immediately, Captain Mishgrim is like, "Get away from the rails! Away from the water!" Starts calling out, and people start drawing weapons, getting spears. You see people tridents, and immediately everybody starts to go to the center, and they're looking around. The people that have frozen in place throw themselves over into the water.
Oh, okay.
They sink into the water, and you hear churning. Something is around the ship, moving quickly, and that's what you hear. And Mishgrim kind of looks around at everybody. He's like, "Mermaids." The entire ship has stopped moving. The sails are down. You see that the ship should be moving, but the sails are down, and there seems to be some commotion in the water, screams coming from the water. You haven't looked. You don't know what's going on. So that's where we start, and I need you to roll initiative.
All right, let's do this. That's cocked. 8.
An 8 total?
Yep.
All right, roll for Eleder. Eleder gets a... where's his initiative? He gets a +2 to initiative.
He got 13 then.
13. Let's roll for El Capitan. Really bad. Who actually... Alright. And now for the crew. Nice. With a 15 total.
Wow, they rolled better than any of us.
And... Okay. So,
the crew is the first one up. That makes sense. They are the first ones to have noticed. First thing that happens is you see that the crew, as they're sort of the last thing that the captain told them was to move away from the railing, move away from the edge. So you see that a bunch of them have started handing out harpoons to each other, bows, all of the weapons that they could find, and they have sort of huddled together in the center. Now the ones that are in the water are going to try to swim and get back onto the... Actually, really quick, let's make a few rolls. Fail. Success. So we'll say that a couple of them seem to have, as they're in the water, they're just treading water and stuck there. Not that you can see this, but one of them, who hits the water and sort of shakes his head, immediately realizes where he is and starts calling for help. Help! Help! Get me up! Get me up! And starts to try to climb. So we're going to see if he can make it. He does not. He starts grabbing the netting and gets caught and is stuck in the water. The rest of these guys actually need to make saves for them as well. Fail, barely. Success. And the two at the front of the ship. Fail. Oh boy. Fail. And the two in the back. That's a nat 20 for the one at the helm, and a fail. You see these guys, oh my god, move to the edge, and look over and freeze in place as well. They seem to be caught by some sort of singing that you are not able to hear at the moment. They are charmed at the moment. So, that is their turn. There are 3 sailors on the ship that are not currently charmed by this effect. So,
okay.
That is their turn. This guy is going to move to the center. Captain, what do we do? And this guy at the helm is currently like trying to move the wheel and nothing is happening, and he calls out, Captain, the ship is stuck, what do we do? And that is their turn. Now, you are standing next to Eler, who is freaking the fuck out. But what you hear is the sound of water churning. It sounds like, the only way I can equate it is like piranha there is a lot of movement under the water, there's a lot of sloshing going on, and the men start to scream. One of them dies. If you could look over the water, you see it all just turn red. One of them dies, and the other one, who is caught on the side, is trying to get up, and he can't get unstuck. That's what you see. And I will say that I'm going to say that at the moment you only see the 2. This one lunges out of the water and onto the deck and is going to try to spear the one who is at the edge of the water there. So, that is a hit. Yeah, just barely a hit, and a nat 1. So, you see this mermaid leaps out of the water, tries to bite one of the sailors, misses, and then spears them to the ground as they miss. It all happens in slow motion. And you see they take 11 points of damage from the spear, and he is like pinned to the ground, and you hear him crying out with this trident stuck in his belly, and instantly just, what's happening? And that is their turn. And now it is Eler, who is going to run over to you, and he's just like, what do we do? What do we do? Sylvetta, I wanted a room. I wanted my own room. I wanted my own bed. And now we're being attacked. What do we do? And he puts his hand on you, and in his commotion, he is going to accidentally, through his anxiety, give you Bardic Inspiration. So you have a D6 of Bardic Inspiration. No, sorry, a D8 of Bardic Inspiration.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And let's see. Yeah, I guess he's gonna use his bow and just fire at that thing. Like he's freaking out. This isn't what he does, but he's still, holding under pressure. And he's going to fire his bow over at that one mermaid that has appeared with a 15 to hit, which does hit. So he fires that, and you see this thing takes a bolt to the back, and just looks back at him, and you see these mandibles that come out, almost like a human face, but you see sort of divisions in the mouth and stuff, and as it roars, like Predator unfurls, and you see just sharp, jagged teeth, like in this huge smile, and it turns over and looks at Eladier, breaks the crossbow bolt, but that is his turn. It is now your turn.
Okay, I think I'm going to do exactly like he did, of pulling out my bow and shooting at one of them. And so I just get to roll both the D8 and the D20?
The Bardic Inspiration, let me check something.
I've never had Bardic Inspiration, so I don't know how it works.
I believe ability checks, attack rolls, and saving throws, so yes,
Okay.
you can use it.
And is it just the one time, or is it like...
It is a one-time use, yeah.
Gotcha. I'm gonna save it then. Save it for a better time. I got my short bow. 20 to hit.
20 hits. You're firing at the one that is currently at pinning the guy to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
8 points of damage.
Okay, another 8 points of damage. What are you firing with a short bow?
Yeah, short bow.
So another arrow right into its back. This time it screeches. You see purple blood spray across the deck. Actually, I need you and Eladier to both make a wisdom saving throw.
13.
13 actually just barely makes it. And Eladier. Wow, a 13 on the die. So, and that is the exact DC, just so you know. So both of you are able to push through this. As you're getting ready to come out, you hear what you thought was at first the sound of the waves, this sort of echo that rings out across the horizon, enter your brain. And then it just turns to white noise. It just turns back to the sound of the ocean, just and the sound of battle that is now happening, the screams that are happening behind you at the helm, this guy who was at the helm trying to figure out why the ship won't move. So you guys push through, you're able to both attack. That is what happens. What else would you like to do with your turn?
I think I'm just gonna say to Eladier, just hold your ground. Okay. Save the crew the best you can.
The captain, who at this point he comes out of the door to his quarters, reaches up and starts ringing a bell. Ding 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 ding, starts ringing a bell, and he's stomping on the lower decks, waking up all of the rest of the crew who is down below. Who probably about half of the crew is up on the deck right now, or at least not below deck, I should say, because some of them are over the railing.
Yeah.
He starts to muster them, and you see he's going to run up the stairs over here, and he's going to try to attack that one mermaid there, which I believe hits. Let's see. That does hit. Oh, nice, and he makes 3 attacks. So yeah, that's a hit, and a hit. So he actually does 24 points of damage to this mermaid here. You see, like a master fighter cuts through. This thing screeches in pain, and I'm gonna say that because it's not quite flanking, I'm gonna homebrew those rules a little bit for those of you who are watching or listening. As long as on the opposite side of the creature there is another person that is your ally, I'm gonna say that it doesn't have to be exactly the opposite side. That doesn't make sense. If you're standing next to somebody and you have an ally, you should get advantage. So he actually puts that thing down because of his sneak attack. Just enough to take that out. So he runs over, slashes the back of this thing. It sprays that purple blood across the deck and onto his clothing. And he's currently basically shirtless. His shirt, his jacket is open. There's nothing underneath. Of course, he is lean and ripped. And as that sprays, you see he takes one final plunge through the head of this thing, and the mermaid collapses onto the ground with those mandibles wide open, teeth bared. That's the captain. And he turns around, looks at the rest of the crew. We need to get this ship moving. And that is that turn. He turned Scottish there for a second because I forgot what his accent was as I was speaking. That is now the crew who you hear movement down below. I need to make saves for the crew. Fail. We're going up this way and back around. Fail. Oh boy. Fail. Nat 1. Fail. Fail. My God, that's 2 2s and okay, there we go. He makes it, and now the guys in the back. Success. Fail. So the guy at the helm and this guy here continue to push through. This guy's going to try to make his way up the railing using his turn. That's a nat 1. He tries to go up the netting, falls back into the water. Everybody else, they just jump into the water. And there was, I believe, one other success. No, I did say it was just the 2. So this guy rushes over to the railing. The ones who are at the railing leap over. The deck is now completely cleared, and you watch as most of them just willingly jump into the water. And that's their turn. The rest of the ones that are downstairs, you hear them mustering. It's going to take them a little bit before they can come up.
Okay.
You watch as... let's see. Okay. Another one goes down. That was a nat 20 for one of them. Another, you hear screaming, "Ah!" and just churning water from underneath. For the ones on this side, miss. That's a hit. Okay, and okay. You hear, nope. One of the guys gets, he screams out as something cuts his leg, and he calls up to everybody up on the deck as he sort of breaks through after that pain. The charm wears off, and he realizes he's in the water, and he calls out to the crew above, "They're in the water! They're in the water!" Starts calling out in fear, and you now are aware that there is many of these creatures circling the ship like prey. Like predators. And that is their turn. It is Eladir's turn, who is going to grab you by the shoulders. "We shouldn't have come here, Sylvetta!" And he's going to give you another bardic inspiration, shaking you. And he is going to... the effects have worn off for you guys because you saved the first time. So you are immune to that call. So he's going to rush over to that. He's going to look over. And he's going to use his action to make a perception check to figure out what is going on with the ship. So that's a nat 20. You see, he looks around and he's like, "They've stopped the ship. They stopped the ship. Sylvetta, they stopped the ship." He is the only one at the moment, other than maybe a few of the crew members, who realize that there are these long seaweed-like colored rope that just descend into the darkness underneath the ship that have caught the rudder. That you see harpoons have been placed into the side of the ship. The whole ship, by at least a dozen ropes, I say, they're made of, a rope of some kind. But mermaid ropes that have been placed in various places along the ship that are literally holding it down, and the ropes descend into the darkness. The ship is not moving, so until somebody cuts those ropes, you are stuck here fighting.
Okay.
That is his turn. It is now your turn.
Can I see any of these ropes from the top deck?
You, not from where you are right now, because you are, a good 5 to 10 feet away from the edge of the ship.
Okay.
But you are no longer affected by the charm. You are completely immune. So you can rush over to the railing and look over if you want.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so you rush over to the railing. Do you want to go to the port side or the starboard
the
side?
Opposite side of
Okay, so you want to go to where Eladir is.
No, the other side.
Oh, the opposite side of Eladir.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So yeah, you look over and you see that somebody has fallen back into the water and is looking up at you, trying to get, they're a good 20, 30 feet down into the, below you. But they're on their back, floating in the water, looking up at you as they were trying to get up onto the railing. onto the netting. I keep saying railing. And it's when you look over the railing that you notice that there is lots of fins breaking the surface from the tails of these mermaids. And you see that they are circling many people. The one who got cut, you see that he is surrounded by like 3 or 4 of them that are just going around him. So they seem to be hunting in packs. They seem to be hunting in packs and taking them out methodically together instead of focusing on one at a time or whatever. So that's what you see. As far as whether or not you see the ropes going into the depths, I would say at first glance, you don't see anything more than churning water. There's just foam and moving, waves everywhere that's just too hard for you to see. If you want to use your action to try and get a better look at them, you can, or you can just jump into the water.
No, I will... The guy that got hit, I will take my short bow and I will try to hit one of the...
The ones that's under the water there?
Yeah,
okay.
One of the ones that was trying to hit him.
Go for it. And I'm also going to mark the ones that have broken through.
That would be an 18 to hit.
18 to hit. This guy. So these ones are no longer affected. The ones with the red circle are no longer affected by the charm.
Okay.
18 to hit. With disadvantage, please, because they are under the water.
Gotcha. That would be a 17 to hit.
Still hits.
And then a 9 damage.
Okay. So you fire, you hear a screech from underneath, and you see that one of the fins, as the arrow sinks into it, one of the fins breaks off and starts to circle around towards you.
Okay.
So now, I will say you can see one of those creatures, and you said 9 damage. Has come to where that one sailor has broken free, and he's trying to get back up onto the netting while there's all of this commotion happening. So that's what happens there. It is now the captain's turn, who is going to turn, and he is going to... He's just gonna do the captain thing. He rips off the jacket that he's wearing, and just looks at you like he full on Will Turner, grabs the netting, stands on the side of the railing, pulls out his rapier and looks at you. We need to get moving. And he just swan dives into the water, like head first, breaks into the water, and he's going to swim over to this one, and he's going to stab it 3 times.
Hell yeah.
That's a hit, a miss, and a hit. So, Jesus. 2 of them hit. And you know what? He is going to swim to this side so that he gets that sneak attack. So that is... Oh my god, 40 points of damage to this mermaid here. So this one dies. She just shanks it basically, and looks up at you. Cut the ropes, damn it! And that is his turn. It is now the crew's turn, who are they're gonna try to save. Success. Fail. Success. Fail. And these ones as well also succeeded. This one and this one. At this point, many crew members start to rush out onto the deck.
Yes, reinforcements!
So, that is their turn. It is now the mermaids, who... You see now multiple mermaids break the surface. This one, you see at least another 5 that have broken the surface, and you can now see them circling the ship. This one is going to make its attacks. That's a hit and another hit. So the one on the right side of the ship. Okay, so you watch as this mermaid takes a harpoon onto the guy that's like right next to, like below Eladir, but not the one who is currently charmed, or who's saved from being charmed. So the one who's still charmed, who's just treading water with this sort of glazed over look, the mermaid takes a harpoon, stabs him into the back. You hear him cry out. Immediately the charm wears off, and the mermaid yanks and starts pulling him down into the water. So that's what happens over here. This guy is almost dead. And then this guy over here is going to get attacked by 2 mermaids. That is a miss and a miss. He somehow is fighting them off. 2 harpoons is able to succeed. Almost everybody has succeeded from the charm. And I should say, I should probably roll for the ones who just came out. So that is a fail, 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 fail. Yep. And a fail. Wow. These guys rush out. They're not very wise. And make it to the edge of the railing. This guy is going to move there. They are just staring into the water now, just like the others. They haven't jumped in yet. That is what we see. And it is Eladir's turn, who is going to try to save the one who is being dragged underwater. So he's going to fire his bow at that one. And that's a miss. The arrow, the crossbow bolt hits the water and then just starts to float. It doesn't penetrate deep enough. So that is his turn. And he's gonna look around, and you see that, like, if you turn over and look over your shoulder, he's just freaking out. Like, he's just sort of shell-shocked, doesn't know what to do, hasn't really been in a battle other than the one time that you guys were attacked in the middle of the night. So he is at a loss right now and is just going through the motions of trying to help, but is not very helpful. So I think that's all he can do. It is now Sylvetta's turn.
Okay, I am going to... Oh god, we have those ropes that we need to cut. So I can't see any of the ropes from the top deck, right?
At the moment when you look over, because the ship sort of goes straight down and then curves, right? So it curves inwards, and then just below the water.
Yeah.
So at the moment, the only thing that you see is lots of netting along the side to, like, help people get up. But other than that, you don't see any sort of harpoons or anything sticking out. If there are any, they're under the ship.
Okay. I guess I will follow the captain into the water.
Okay, so what does that look like? What does Sylvetta do before she leaps into the water?
I'm just gonna kind of be looking over, and I'm just gonna yell back at Eladir, just stay on the ship, I'll take care of it. And she's just going to literally just leap over the edge and drop in.
She swan dives into the water next. The water is freezing cold. Instantly, Sylvetta just takes in this deep breath, breaks the surface, starts swimming around, and you just see it's like the last moments of the Titanic. There's just people in the water that are, like, trying desperately to get back onto the ship, and they are also being picked off one by one. So you leap into the water. That's your movement. What are you doing then?
I would like to try to see if I can see any of the ropes.
Yeah, you turn around. You as you hit the water and look, you see dozens of ropes under. Like, you see the bottom of the ship that is like caked with barnacles, and every little bit or so, you see sort of ropes just extending into the darkness below you.
Okay. I'll use my rapier and try to see if I can cut one of the ropes closest to me.
Yeah, just go ahead and make, like, an athletics check for me.
Okay.
Actually, no, don't do that. Just make an attack.
Okay.
Easy. You swing your rapier through the water. Very, very difficult because you're underwater. You cut one of the ropes, and you watch as it just sort of floats in the water.
Okay.
You only get the one attack, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The captain is going to push that dead mermaid out of the way, and he's going to grab the one who is freaking out, who is looking up at you. He's going to grab him, turn him around, and say, "Cut the damn ropes!" and just start just yelling at people to cut, like, literally just calling out to everybody, "Cut them! Cut them!" And just yelling at everybody to cut the ropes. And he's going to do that same. He's going to use all 3 attacks to just move along. He's literally swimming through the water and just swinging a sword, swinging a sword, moving another 5 feet and swinging the sword, cuts 3 ropes immediately. And that is his turn. Now the crew. These guys have survived. He's going to move over here to try to help his friend. This guy is going to start swinging his blade and start cutting the ones at the front. That's that. These guys are going to leap into the water. Still effective. Actually, let's... Success. Fail. So one guy jumps in. This guy does not. And then he is no longer affected. He's going to try to break free. He's going to use his athletics check to try and get the harpoon out of him. And that's a nat 1. He's under the water, just looking up at the slowly shrinking ship as he's dragged under and starts to drown. This guy is going to, hearing the captain, is going to cut the rest of the ropes on his side as well. He gets his 3 attacks as well. Starts cutting through and is going to move this way. At this point, about half of the ropes have been cut, and you watch as the ship starts to move. The sails filled. There's a lot of movement. So now the ship is going to start to slowly move away from you.
Okay.
And then there's 2 more on the other side that need to save. Fail and fail. That's the same roll twice. These 2 break into the water. Eladir's like, oh, what the fuck? And he's going to fire at the one who is dragging. That's a nat 20. So Eladir is going to use that. So this one takes 12 points of damage. And that is Eladir's turn. Unless he can do something else. No. Nothing that he wants to do. So that's his turn. It is now the mermaids who are going to try and attack this guy with the harpoon. Miss. And a miss. How? And that one is going to just continue to drag him. So this guy is too far. Unless you want to try and save him. He is just getting dragged under as food for later. This one is going to swim and, using its tail, leap onto the deck right next to Eladir and is going to try to harpoon him. That's a 19 on the die. Oh. You see Eladir looks at you, Sylvetta, and the mermaid will then leap back into the water and drag Eladir.
Hell no.
That is that turn. Eladir is going to try. I'm going to let you roll this. He is going to try to break free. He needs to. Hold on. He needs to. It's a strength. It's a strength check against the mermaid.
Okay.
You need to beat a 15. That is a 9 total. So you see Eladir starts flailing, and as he's calling, the last thing you hear is Eladir's name, or Eladir's voice calling out your name before he gets pulled underwater. It is now your turn.
I would like to try to save Eladir.
Okay, so you're in the water, actually, right?
Yeah.
So you're in the water. What do? Do
I see him pulled into the water yet?
Would you like to go underwater to see?
Yeah.
Okay, you dive under the water, start to look, and you see the figure of Eladir, who is only a couple feet below the ship level, really. Mm-hmm. So he's still surface level, unlike you do see another one way down, 30, 60 feet below, who is flailing and a trail of blood just leaking into the water. And you see just ropes. I mean, it's this horrifying nightmare scene where you just see these large, 10-foot long tails moving through the water, ropes that are being cut, the ship is starting to move, and bodies being dragged underwater, and lots of commotion above. You look up and it's just foam and moving legs and people swinging blades and punching, and then you see a couple people down below who are being dragged, and one of them is Eladir, who, let's see, your movement is halved underwater. So Eladir is 35 feet away, so you could get to just being underneath the ship right about here.
Okay.
that's about as far as you can make it under the ship.
Okay.
Unless you want to use your action to dash and double your movement and get to him.
No, I will... God, this is so difficult. Because if I get to him, I'm still not going to be able to do anything.
Right. I don't know... You don't have any spells or anything like that, right?
No.
Okay.
So I guess I'll fire an arrow and try to hit that one dragging him.
Underwater combat, you make attacks with disadvantage.
Oh, wait, I have cunning action, so I could use a bonus action to dash.
Okay. So you use your bonus action to dash.
Yeah, to get to him.
Okay.
And I'm going to try with my action to free him from the harpoon.
Okay. So, how would you like to do that? Would you like to use... You can use your action to cut the harpoon's rope if you'd like. I'll allow that.
Okay.
Or you can physically try to pull the harpoon away from...
I think I will try to use... to try to cut the rope.
Okay. Easy. You don't even have to roll for that. You come up to it, swing the blade, the rope comes free, and Eladier starts to swim to the surface, and he surfaces, and you just hear the sound of commotion again. You are underwater, staring now at that mermaid.
Okay.
That is your turn.
Mm-hmm.
The captain is going to grab onto the netting. Onto the ship! Onto the ship! Come on, lads! And that is... he's going to use his action to cut 3 more ropes and start to climb back onto the deck. He reaches the railing, looks around, and realizes you're not on the ship. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that have not saved. Success. Fail. 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 And success. So, 1 success, another one leaps over, 1 success. The ones who have succeeded, these 2, I guess they're gonna try to take on. They're gonna disengage. They're gonna be smart. They're gonna disengage. They're gonna grab the netting and try to climb up. Fail. And fail. Man. So they are currently grabbing onto the side of the ship, trying to climb up, but are not able to.
Okay.
So they've grabbed onto the ship, they're moving with the ship, but are still susceptible to attacks from the mermaids.
Okay.
This one is going to also do the same. He climbs up onto the deck, splashes on, and just throws up onto the deck. The other 2 here, fail, and success. Another one climbs up. This one fails, and that one is in the water. These guys are now going to start firing bolts into the water, trying to save everybody. That is their turn. The mermaids, this one is going to drag that guy even further. He's gone. He did. That one, and then the one that is in front of these 2 are going to try to harpoon the one guy. Miss. And... a hit. So one of the harpoons gets into his back, and they're going to make a check. So the green die is for the mermaid, and the red die is for the pirate. They need to beat the mermaid in order to break, and they don't. That guy gets pulled back, breaks into the water. He is harpooned and being pulled under as well. And then the one in front of you, Sylvetta, is going to attack you. Miss. And it doesn't have the harpoon, so it's actually going to use its bite and its claws. So that's a miss. And for the claws, that's a miss. So both attacks, you are prepped and ready. You're just a little too swift. That is their turn. And Eladier, who is going to... Eladier... Okay. Mermaid is making a wisdom save. Fail. The one in front of you. Eladier, who breaks the surface, sees it attacking you, waves his hand... and you see this sort of shimmering sparkle that just moves through the air, almost like fireflies. And as it does, it's sort of like pixie dust stays in the air, and it catches the mermaid, and you see it kind of blinks and just starts to stare. He cast Hypnotic Pattern. There's this sort of glimmering in the air around you, and that one is currently charmed. Yeah, so its speed is 0 and it is incapacitated, meaning that you and him are free to climb up. He's going to use his movement to try and get up, and it succeeds. He climbs up onto the top of the ship, and it is your turn. He hits the deck, also throws up. Your turn.
I'm going to do the same and try to climb up onto the ship.
Okay. If you want to use your action to just climb, you can.
Oh, okay, but I could just use my movement to get up, or?
Yeah, you can use your movement to get to it. It's just if you're doing anything else, there's an ability check required to climb your way up the netting. So you climb up onto the ship, past the one mermaid who is currently charmed by Eler, and onto the deck. You hit the deck. That's your turn. The captain is going to climb up, turns around, come on! Get up! Get up! And he's going to fire more arrows, or I guess he can't, so he's going to rush over to the ones that are, you know what, he will. He's going to take whatever he can find, pieces of chain, wooden, all of buckets, anything that he can find. He's just going to chuck them at the ones who are charmed, trying to break their charm. So I'm going to give these 3 advantage.
Okay.
Because they are being, so that is a success for one, a success for the other, and that's the same roll twice. So one of them is just not able to.
Just lost to the...
This one is fine. This one who is harpooned in the back, he is going to try to make his check. Oh boy. Fail. He gets dragged into the water. Pulled under. And then there's one more who is in the water, and he fails still. That is their turn. These guys are going to hop up onto the ship.
You have one at the front, too.
Yep. Yep. Totally fine. Okay. They make it up. These guys, they're going to take the win as the ship starts to move, and drag that one under. Eler is going to crawl. He, like, full speed, just crawls to the mast, back to the mast, and just holding onto his crossbow, just staring, bleeding from the abdomen.
Oh, yeah.
And that is his turn. At this point, the ship is moving, and the ones who are lost to the water are lost to the water.
Okay.
So you watch as multiple bodies moving through. This is what's left of the crew.
Okay.
And the ship starts moving, and you see the captain, who is grabbing onto the netting, looks over at you. Okay, well, I'm gonna get some rest then. And just starts to move over. Is there anything that you want to do? He literally just pushes people start moving over to him. Captain, he just puts his hand in their face, moves them out of the way, and goes to his room, shuts the door behind him, and locks it.
I'm going to tend to Eler's wounds.
Yeah, he, between the two of you, he casts Healing Word on himself, seals the wound. Seals the wound, looks up at you. Why did I agree to come with you?
It's for the story, man.
I hate being a bard. And that is that initiative. You survived. What do you do with the rest of your night?
We're gonna get drunk. Me and Eler are gonna get fucking drunk after that.
So you go back to your bunk. You very, very close quarters, tight quarters. He is laying under you, just staring at like the bottom of your hammock, and the two of you are just passing this bottle back and forth, and you get blitzed. You wake up the next morning to the ship continuing on. People are quiet. They're pretty horrified, losing a few members there. I think 3 people total. But you still have a full crew that is able to continue sailing the ship. The ship is now about a day, maybe a day and a half, depending on winds away. So I need you to roll another D20 for me.
Okay.
Okay.
The next morning, you wake up to the sound of commotion up on the top deck. Doesn't sound like battle, nothing like that, but you hear people screaming and shouting and that sort of thing. What do? You're probably hungover. You wake up and you hear people just shouting up top.
I guess I would try to listen to see what I can hear from what's going on.
Make a perception check. Are you staying in your bunk just listening to what's going on up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Be 16.
16. You hear among a lot of things, you hear what do we do with her? What do we do with her? Captain! You hear that. You hear a woman's voice. Please, I can pay.
Okay, I'm gonna
You
go.
start to pick up other little pieces. You hear people shouting about a stowaway. That's what you hear at the moment.
I'm gonna go up to the deck and see what's going on.
You go up, you open the door, come out onto the deck. Beautiful, bright blue, sunny sky beaming down on the ship. The ship is sailing south still. And you see the captain, who is sort of circling a woman in tattered clothing, who is on her knees, begging. And the captain is holding a blade to her, and he's like, "You're doing a lot of talking, love. Pay up or learn to swim." What do you do?
I'm gonna ask, what's going on here?
Oh, well, we have someone who thinks that she could just sneak on my ship. That's not happening, love.
Can I look at the woman just kind of...
Sure. You see the woman who kind of like notices that you may be an ally in the situation. She runs over to you. "Please, my name is Tia. I can pay. I just can't pay right now. I'm on my way to the Pale Lands. My brother, he lives there. He can pay. Please, if I can just stay on the ship." And he backhands her, smacks her, and he's like, "Shut up."
Damn. Does she seem like she's being honest?
Make an insight check.
18.
18 total. You don't see any reason for her. I mean, she's wearing really, really terrible clothing. There are tears streaming down her face. As he smacks her, you see she spits up some blood and just kind of wipes her mouth. But she's like, "My brother, he's in the army. He's stationed in the colonies. Please, I'm just trying to go see him. I haven't seen him in years." And seems to be telling the truth.
I'll turn to the captain and say, "I'll pay her away."
There's this moment where he looks at you, kind of gives you this look like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, it's fine. I'll pay her way.
Turns around to the girl.
"Seems you have a lucky benefactor. No hard feelings."
And I'll walk over to the woman and I'll kind of escort her to my quarters.
Okay. Eladir, who was like only just now coming out.
Oh, hi.
Like literally like can't see, still hungover, probably drank a lot more than you did. And just he opens the door and you are passing him going back down. He's like, "Oh, okay, we're going back. All right." And starts moving into the deck with you. You have found a woman that has seemingly stowed away on the ship. You survived the attack of the mermaids, but you still have at least one other night to make it before you get to the colonies, but you are so close. That is probably a good point to end this episode. See what happens with your last night or two on the seas before you make it to your destination, to the new colonies. Sylvetta, the world that you live in is not like ours. The world that you live in has a very long day cycle, a very long night cycle, because Sylvetta and everybody else on the planet, on Maladea, lives on a moon. And so instead of rotating, in 24 hours or whatever like we do, the moon that you are on has a 380 plus, I can go into the math, but 380 plus hours for every rotation. So basically what that means for you listeners, for you viewers out there, Sylvetta lives in a world where there is 8
days to us, 8 days of daytime, very, very slow moving of the sun from one side of the horizon to the other, followed by 8 days of consistent night. So that's something to think about and consider moving forward. I keep forgetting to bring it up. I'm bringing it up now, and hopefully I don't forget. So as a reference point, if I ever say it's been a day, it's been 2 days, or whatever, I say that for us, for our sake, for our viewers, so that we know 24 hours. But a day is not the same on Maladea as it is on Earth. A day on Maladea is significantly longer and has a much longer cycle. So that's just something to think about. And I don't know, maybe I'll talk about that in another video when we're talking about world building. But Sylvetta, you have been on the seas for about 2 days now. You are crossing what is known as the Eye of the Gods. But you are crossing from the northern shores, or really the southern shores in the north, crossing south from Alara, leaving... well, actually, you sailed from Nidora to the east of Alara. Yeah. But you are sailing sort of in a southwest direction towards the southern colonies, towards the capital city of Marine. And you are trying to make it there in the hopes of discovering more about where your father is. Insert quest log. So, you still have at least a couple days if the weather is fair. So, in those couple days, what are you doing? Let's say right now you wake up the morning, quote-unquote morning, right? Because for the sake of Sylvetta, it has been nighttime since she left. So basically, the moment that you left the city, the capital city of Nidora, Saval, it has been perpetual night. So you know in your mind that you have at least 4 more days of nighttime, but quote-unquote, it is morning. You are in the what's considered the long dark. You are traveling south. You have awoken in the darkness, and the ship is sailing and so far nothing has stopped it since last night's attack. So what are you doing? What are you doing on the ship while you are making that crossing southwards?
I guess I'll get to know my my new roommate. Just ask her name, where she comes from, where she's going, why she's going.
Yeah, so if you recall, what she said to you sort of in a hurry before was her name is Tia, Tiana, and she is on the way to the colonies because her brother is a soldier of Alara who is in the colonies and has been stationed there for a while, and she hasn't heard from him. So that's as far as you know. If you talk to her a little bit, you discover that that she is just looking to get in contact with her brother. So as far as what are you asking her?
I guess that's just kind of like the main things that I'm asking her. I mean, yeah, like once we dock, I mean, I'm gonna be going my own separate way of doing my own thing, and I'm sure she is. So just making, just checking on who she is, since we're gonna have her in our cabin and whatnot. The rest of my time, I guess, studying the map, just making sure I'm charting like where we're gonna be going, things that we should be looking for, brushing up with Eler about those things. The expectations we might have. Yeah,
you're talking to her, and Eler sort of looking at the map, and you, for a moment, just look back at him, and he is just staring at the map and just goes, Sylvetta, this doesn't make any sense.
It will once we get there.
It's just writing. It's writing on a map. The map isn't even very good, Sylvetta. You're telling me that this is supposed to guide us? We're gonna die. We're going to die if we follow this map, Sylvetta.
Only if you think we're going to die. You have to be optimistic.
I don't think that's how it works. I'm pretty sure that most people who die didn't expect to die. I'm really hoping. I'm projecting. I'm going to live. I am going to live. And he just you can tell that he's sort of going a little nutty. And it tends to happen. Really, it's sort of there's this weird transitionary phase because of the long days and the long nights, people have to kind of get acclimated to, and for people who live in fancy cities,
there's ways of like getting around it, artificial light and things like that for people to sort of settle into it. It is not an easy life. Somebody on Earth would not be able to like settle into that lifestyle. It would take a lot. It'd be like living in the Arctic Circle for us. It's definitely not everybody can do it. But because of you're on Maladea and humans have been living here for tens of thousands of years, it's kind of become a little easier to sort of manage that, and then there's evolutionary things that have happened, right, to help humans sort of develop here. But there is sort of a moment, a few days, right, quote unquote days, where people as like the first night is fine because it's nighttime.
Yeah.
And then the second night is like, okay, it just feels like a long night. But then by the third or fourth night, fifth night, people are starting to get a little nutty. And the same thing happens, right, on the other end of that. Once the sun starts to rise again after you've been in the darkness, people are, like, oh, they feel energetic. And then once the sun has been out for 3 or 4 days, then people are, sort of nutty again. It's just, it's sort of this, I don't know how else to put it, sort of a hormonal thing. Humans have just learned how to deal with it, but it's definitely not the easiest, and it depends on your genetics and who you are and all that. But Eladir, you can tell, is like at that end point of like being like he feels a little cracked out. So he's definitely looking at this map, and you can see circles under his eyes, and he's at his wit's end, especially after everything that happened in the last 24 hours with the attack. So you're sitting there with Tia, who at some point has got her hands on a cup of tea, and she has just been sipping it, very quiet for the most part, but she gives you some information about herself. Hasn't stopped thanking you. She has profusely thanked you over and over. Thank you so much for paying for it. I promise I'll get it back to you. I just really want to be, I need to see my brother. He's all that I have left, going through that. But I would like for you to make an Arcana roll.
Okay.
And we haven't played in like a month. So this will be the first roll in a long time. I'd like for you to make an Arcana roll while you're looking at the map.
Okay.
You can feel... it's very much like Percy Jackson. Go ahead and roll.
Okay. That is 15.
15 total. Yeah, it's very much like Percy Jackson when he's looking at the English words and they're phasing in and out of becoming Greek, and it like you're looking at the map and the defense mechanism on this thing, this strange map that you found tucked away in the chest of a statue in an ancient ruin. It is refusing to be read, right? And you don't know why, but for whatever reason, with a 15, you feel this sort of moment of clarity as you're looking at the map, and you've already marked it before. I remember you said that you marked the map where that was. You're able to look at it, and you do see it sort of like a line, and there's a mountain range in the colonies called the Southern Shield. This X is on the other side of the shield, way south. And for you, really, it's more of just this moment of like, okay, I know exactly where I'm going. I'm correct. So looking at this map now, and you see the same poem that's written around the edge, with the text around the edge of the map read, almost like a frame. Like illumination on the side of the map. There's like when you open it up, what you see is a shit ton of runes and letters and stuff just sort of scrawled across the front. But as you're looking at it, it starts to fade in and out of focus, and you do see that the text around the almost like invisible ink, the text around the edges. And you've already read this, but just as a reminder, since it's been a while. Beneath the shadow of Arya's rise, the door that guards the world's demise. Shadows that hunted shall gather once more. The sleeping tyrant awakened for war. And immediately, right, Sylvetta is thinking, what the hell does this have to do with my father? Why did he ask me to go to Istrakar to find this?
Yeah.
Why isn't he coming to me to talk to me? What sort of danger is he in? What does any of this have to do with him? What does any of this have to do with me? That's what's going through her mind right now. You, over the next night, quote unquote, it's fairly quiet. There's a wind in the air, pushes the ship along, and you go out top to the deck at one point,
And you see that they're sailors, and you can kind of gather just based on how long you've been on the seas that this is about the halfway point.
Okay.
And you're crossing open water. And you come out onto the top deck in time to sort of listen in on some ghost stories
Okay.
that the sailors are telling. And you hear a couple of them like talking, and you know they're drinking. There's not much going on, and you overhear one of the sailors talking about the Eye of the Gods, this sea that you're sailing over. And there's a lot of back and forth, like I've heard this and that, like the mermaids are actually the spirits of like they're just sort of going back and forth about all these different things. But one thing that really stands out to you is that somebody, and you're a historian, and really your whole family is a historian, but somebody, one of these sort of skinny, ugly, balding pirates that is telling the story, the part that stands out to you is when he says, "This part of the world, it was sunk thousands of years ago." And you hear all the guys, like, they sort of mutter, like, they're all talking, all huddled around each other. And he says, "See, what we're sailing over right now, it's not a sea, it's a graveyard." And there's this sort of hush, this stillness, and everybody, like, you can kind of feel the superstitious nature of it, right? Like, they don't want to say much. And for the rest of the night, there's this sort of eerie quiet over the ship, almost like a long moment of silence as they're passing over this area. And you gather that it's a thing that just happens. Like, you cross this point of the sea, and it's sort of a superstition. If it's rowdy, if it's rambunctious, you're bringing bad luck to the ship.
Like everyone has to be quiet around this time. Okay.
And it's not that you can't talk, it's not that you can't enjoy yourself or whatever, but it's definitely like something bad happened here a long time ago. Let's just keep quiet until we're out of this area.
Okay.
Yeah. So, over the course of that night, like, what are you doing? You hear this ghost story, I kind of picture you going up for some fresh air, and you hear this story behind you. Maybe you're looking over the railing. What is on Sylvetta's mind right now? You're so close to getting to where you were supposed to be going. What is going through her mind?
I think now she's starting to... I mean, not that she's going to ever tell Elodie, but I think there's a part of her that is kind of panicking of, like, what are we going to do out there? Like, I don't know what to expect, and all I've heard is it's dangerous, but what does that mean? Nobody wants to tell me why it's so dangerous. Like, she's kind of probably starting to, like, turn her head and think about the worst possible scenarios, things like that. Like, trying to prep herself mentally. And probably trying to think and maybe make a list of things that she might need to get once they get to the colony, and ask people certain questions to know how to prepare for what journey she's going to have to take ahead of her.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that the colonies are a place where people go for new starts, for adventure, to run. It is a wild country, very... there are presences of other empires there, right? Nidora has its colony. Alara has its colony, Marine. But there's not really like a power. It's sort of like this coast of all these different governors that are sort of overseeing each of their own like stake of land that the empires that they're from have been like, okay, you're going to watch this area, you're going to watch this area.
Yeah.
But there is this sort of, because of the superstitious nature of the colonies and stuff, there's this sort of internal community that has been created where they make their own rules. And, to hell with the Empire, to hell with the people who are telling us what to do. There's definitely a wildness to it.
Yeah.
But because of that, that there's lots of places for people to go here in the colonies and get what they need for whatever they're doing. What people don't do is go farther south than the Shield.
Yeah, which is what we're doing.
Yeah. And so, and you know this, even though you've maybe I don't think Sylvetta's ever been to the colonies.
No.
There'd be no need for her.
No.
The crossing the Eye of the Gods is very dangerous.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's a danger she would put herself in without need. Even though maybe Sylvetta has always wanted to go.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, in the 1500s, hearing about the Americas. But deciding to go there is completely different.
Yeah.
So, Sylvetta's running through those worst case scenarios. What are we going to do? How the hell are you going to do anything? How are you going to get to the south alone with Eler as your companion? That's, I think that's at the top of Sylvetta's mind is you're going south farther than most people ever dare to go. And you're doing it alone.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably the sense of fear that's rising and an anxiety that's rising in her. But as you're thinking about that, you see this sort of shimmer, this glow in the water. And you see these sort of fish that just... almost like dolphins, but tiny. Like, I'm talking like the size of like a chihuahua.
Yeah.
These fish that kind of break the surface with these long fins, they sort of glide for a moment. You see sort of a bioluminescence to them. Almost like spots. Not really like striping or anything like that. It's like spots, like freckles on them that glow.
Yeah.
And then, and you see shimmering in the water as you see a school of these fish in front of the ship, sort of moving along it, lighting the way. And it's this weird moment because you see the stars reflected and you see the fish glowing. You look up, you see the planet there. You see aspects of its moons. And you see all of it just sort of reflected in the water and then this beautiful life in front of you. And for a little moment, there's a sense of hope. Do you do anything before you settle down for the night?
Probably just taking some rum or something to Eler just to kind of try to cheer his spirits up.
Ah, thank you. Immediately starts chugging.
To our lives.
And actually, on that note, you do, yeah, he's chugging it as you're kind of like saying that. You're like, to our lives. He takes it, chugs it, looks at you, and just, you hear that, boom, as he kind of pulls it out, and he's just like, yeah, to our lives, yeah, as short as they may be. You can smell the alcohol on him. He's been drinking probably for a couple days. It very much so he's not a sailor. Doesn't want to be here. Is only here for you. Is only here for whatever reasons he has for being here, You wake up to the sound of a bell. Just the ding, 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 ding. And you come out top. There's a lot of mustering. There's the whole ship is stirring, moving. You come out to the top deck in time to see in the far distance like flames on the horizon. Not fire, but just the specks of light way in the distance, and you gather that you're approaching land. And there is this sort of, it's like somebody who's on a plane that hates flying when they realize that we're about to descend, and I'm telling you this from experience. You feel a sort of weight lift because you just crossed one of the most dangerous passageways with very little happening other than that one attack, which is sort of unheard of. And you start to gather your things, and within a few hours you're pulling into the docks, and you see in front of you sort of grimy but not necessarily ugly looking, sprawling, like literally left to right as far as you can see, buildings. You see palm trees and dirt streets. You see stone piers jutting out. Lots of ships, small ships, mostly fishing vessels, the occasional galleon like the one that you're on. But you do see sort of this vast coastline of homes and fishing huts and docks and fishmongers and just sort of people moving about like ants across this coastline. And as you approach, and it's a lot of huts. It really does feel like people came here and just built They literally stuck a flag in the ground, claimed the land, built their thing, and it's been there ever since. And with so many people doing this, it's sort of just the city has jutted up around them. And you see elements of the Empire of Alara, right? You've made it to Marine. You see elements of, like, you look around and you see that there's a couple buildings that have the flag of Alara, right? The red flag with the white wolf on it. But you don't see, like, a large military presence. You don't, it feels very sort of...
Like temporary?
Kinda, yeah. Temporary is a great way to put it. It just sort of feels like things were put up hastily and have never been taken down.
Okay.
You don't see large buildings. You don't see... Like, you're used to... In the capital city of Qantos, you're used to seeing the large towers of the university. The palace in the bay. You're used to seeing such large buildings sort of everywhere, and here it's very flat and out. But there is one building in the back. And I guess I should also say, way in the distance, you see a mountain range.
Okay.
You do see the southern shield there, way in the distance, probably 100 or so miles away. In the center of, sort of like, as the ship pulls in the back, you see what appears to be a large fortress. Nothing crazy. Looks like it's made out of mud or clay or stone from, like, where you are here. But Tiana has her bag up on her, and you can see that she has sort of... when you make your way up, she's already been up. The ship pulls into the docks. The sailors start, throwing their lines. They start getting ready. It takes some time, but eventually the plank hits the dock and people start disembarking. And you tell me, what do you do?
Well, I guess first I'll ask the captain what his plans are, like if he'll be returning to the Pale Lands anytime in the future.
When he gets there, you walk up to him, and he turns around, like he's in the middle of barking orders. He turns around and gives you this like exaggerated bow, where he's like, "Welcome, love." You can tell he's a little drunk. "Welcome. I got you here safe. I said I would." And you ask him, if he's gonna be back, and he's like, "Well, we're probably gonna stick around for a little bit. Not too keen on going back. Not yet."
Okay. Just checking for when me and my companion return to get back to the mainland after everything.
He kind of gets in kind of close to you. You smell the alcohol in his breath. I feel like Sylvetta kind of instinctually,
back,
yeah, just kind of recoils a little bit, and he's just like, if you're gonna tell me that you miss me, you could just say it, love."
I'm just looking for a way home.
Yeah, of course. And he kind of gives you this wink and gestures with his hand, and you sort of follow the rest of the sailors off of the gangway, if that's the term, insert nautical term, and you make your way down the plank onto the docks, firm land for the first time in days. And there's this sort of uneasy wobbliness to you. Eladir.
I was gonna say, I imagine Eladir is just puking right now.
Yeah, probably. And you're not sure if it's the hangover or if it's because, but Eladir hits, like, he goes out onto the dock. Immediately you see he just drops his shoulders. He's just like, "Oh, thank the gods." Turns and just starts vomiting into the ocean. And you see a dwarf fellow comes up to him. He's like, "Oh, come on. Oh, you couldn't just have gone up like another 100 feet. Ah." And Eladir sort of wipes his mouth and just like starts walking his way. And the moment he touches the sand, and by the way, the sand here is like white. It's not like stones. There's a lot of beaches that look like I can walk barefoot here. And there's some beaches where you're like, this looks like it would be painful. This beach looks diamond-like. The sand itself is very shimmery. It's very fine, not coarse at all. It's just, it looks like the most comfortable sand of your life. And it's just white, like bleach white, and just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. And Eladir walks in, there's just palm trees and ferns and all sorts of stuff growing. Like some beaches are very clean and clear. There's foliage growing all over the beach, and people have sort of set up farther up along the beach. Like there's plenty of room for a wooden walkway that leads out towards the stone piers
that
Okay.
make their way up onto the shoreline there. But there's just this beautiful stretch of coast going to your left and to your right, in front of the trees, next to the ocean, where there's just white sand and trees and ferns and all sorts of exotic plants that are growing. And you can see the actual greenery starts to get sparse as you're looking in towards the city. But looking at the mountainside, even from here, you can see it's just green and lush. Very tropical. And it's warm. Obviously, right now, it's dark.
Yeah.
For the sake of the viewer, we'll say it's like a nice 75 degrees. It's warm, even for nighttime.
Yeah.
And you have made it to Marine. And you and Eladir step off. Tiana steps off with you, and you stop walking, and she kind of turns, and she's got one bag on her, and just kind of turns and looks at you, and it's like this piece of shit bag, leather, kind of torn. You can see it's been repaired, and turns to you and just says, "I guess this is where we part. I don't know what it is that you're doing here. I guess I just never asked."
I guess I'm kind of the same as you. I'm looking for somebody else here. My father left a while ago, and I hadn't seen him for a long time, and recently he sent me a letter and basically asked me to come here for some reason. I still don't know, so that's what I'm doing.
Well, I don't know where it is that you're going to stay. I've only been here once when I was little. I don't have any gold. You know that. I guess I'm just asking if you would be kind enough to escort me to that. And she points towards the fortress. That's,
yeah.
I guess, where my brother is stationed. I haven't heard from him in a long time, and I don't really know what to expect. And, I'm a woman alone in a new area, and
Yeah, no, I completely understand. Yeah, me and Eladir, we can go with you.
Eladir is 100 feet away from you, and he turns around and he just, at the top of his lungs, 2 beds, Sylvetta, 2 beds. And Tia is how she goes by. Just kind of looks over at him and just looks at you and just, so what this is he your...
Oh, no. Bards, they like stories, so he thinks that maybe I'll lead him to something exciting, even though he's complaining the whole time. He's looking just to, make money off of our adventure.
I've only been with you for a few days, and already we were attacked by mermaids, so far the story's... I would read it.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Well, I would say that this is going to go great, but I'm really not sure what to expect, and if we're being 100% honest, I don't know if my brother's going to be happy that I came to see him, but he hasn't written me in almost 6 months now, and, well, he's the only family I have left, so I just need to see what's going on for myself.
No, I don't blame you. That's the same reason why I'm here looking for my dad. He's all I got too, so let's go see about your brother first, and then we'll decide what we're gonna do after that.
She gives you a nod and starts heading her way towards the fortress, which looks like it's just a few blocks in towards the city. Immediately as you guys are walking and you catch up with Eladir, all of you have bags. Eladir has his instrument, and you guys are walking, and everywhere you walk, people are looking at you. Not specifically you, but it's sort of like, it's a rough looking place. Mm-hmm. Like I said, there's no paved roads.
Yeah.
It really is everything. There's nobody that's like I said, Qantos is very pristine. It's clean. It's been manicured and made to look a certain way. This place is sort of like, you make your patch of land look like what you want. So, and now that you're closer, every building has its own look, its own unique kind of flair, its own color. Mm-hmm. It's made out of its own materials. This whole colony is like a hodgepodge of so many different buildings, and made out of different materials. Some look like they're made out of driftwood. Some are made of stone, clay.
Probably old ships.
Yeah, all sorts of things. And there are some areas that, are fine. But as you're walking through, you immediately see, some people
your first instinct, some people here want to hurt me.
Okay.
And you're walking, and especially some eyeballs go towards Eleder. And you can see people looking at his loot. He dresses nice.
Yeah.
And you can see some people looking him up and down, and immediately you're sort of tense. Just FYI.
Okay.
A little nudge. But you are making your way towards Fort Rien. And as you're moving towards the fortress, you start to see, as you get closer, like it's like 4 blocks away, right? As you move your way towards the center of the town, because it's really what it is, it's not a city. It's a town, a very large town. As you move closer and closer, a couple people, what languages do you speak?
I speak Nidorian, Rainian, Eldari, Common, and a Thieves' Cant from Qantos.
Okay. I love that what's your background? Are you a noble?
No, I'm a sage.
Sage, okay. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say Sylvetta's a noble, but definitely grew up a little more privileged than a lot of people.
Yeah,
right?
I grew up in a city.
Yeah, 100% grew up in the city, and you spent a lot of your life in the university.
Yeah.
And, and in with a lot of the scholars. So it's really interesting, just like as a viewer, why the hell is Sylvetta a thief? Why does she know thieves? To me, that's just very interesting. But as you're moving towards Fort Rien, you start to see, like at first, you see a couple guards. You see not necessarily the same city armor that you would see in Qantos, because the armor in Qantos is it's more ceremonial. It's a very safe city. So elaborate designs on it, floral leafing, and that sort of thing. But you do see the same colors. You see half plates and breastplates, right? Silver armor. Here, looking a little more rusted, a little more beaten. The shields that they're carrying have dents in them and slash marks, and the paint is chipping. The soldiers here that you're seeing, immediately you recognize the symbol of Alara. The soldiers here have seen action. And you don't know if that's because of the locals or if because they're going somewhere or whatever, but immediately the soldiers here are a little tougher. There's sort of this elevated feeling of like, these are soldiers, not city guards. And as you're walking, you see a couple guards they've both got spears, and they're talking to each other, super low whispers. And people are going about their day, right? It's dark, but it's the middle of the day for all intents and purposes. People are going about their day, lots of torches, but dark streets. And you see a couple guards who give you this look as you're walking towards the fortress. And now you can see that there is a fortress with iron gate, like a waffle pattern. I'm not really sure. It's a portcullis, right? It's bars going bars going up and bars going horizontally, but there's holes in it, square holes, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to explain that for the viewers. But you see these iron double doors that are like, I guess a portcullis is inaccurate because that goes up and down. But there's iron gate that has been thrown open, and there's guards at the front, and you can see that in the distance now. You see there's torches along the wall. You see armed presence along the fort wall, and inside you can hear voices and stuff. And there's a couple guards who look at you, and the moment you pass by them, one of them gets off the wall, starts walking towards you. Stop. And Tia immediately freezes. You see her hand kind of goes to her pocket. What do you do?
I'll wait for him to address us.
He like double times walks in front of you. He's got a big tower shield, if you know what that is. Basically the size of his torso. Kind of puts it in the ground, sticks it in the ground so it's sort of a barrier, and leans on it and looks at you. And the other one, you can hear him walking behind you. And Eleder is just like, Sylvetta. And the guy looks at you. What are you doing here?
My friend here has somebody who's family, who's soldier. We're just checking on him.
He looks at her, and your family that's stationed here. She gives a nod, looks at the other soldier. All right, well, what's his name? And you see her hand like gets really, like, you see she's like white knuckling a dagger that's in her pocket. And what do you do in that instinct? Like, you see her doing that, right? Like, you can feel the tension, and Eleder is sort of hiding behind you.
Yeah.
He's hiding behind you. So, what is your instinct in this moment? Like, how?
I'm just gonna kind of being close to her, just kind of reach down, put my hand kind of kind of grab her hand of just kind of being like, it's okay, let's just see what happens here, and then we'll go from there. But I'm also prepped, I'm ready for anything.
Okay.
Assuming that they're guards though, given that they're military, I'm hoping that they'll be civil.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, and it's your first time in the colonies. You have no idea how people are out here.
Yeah.
And already you're feeling you thought that you'd be cool.
Yeah.
Being off the ship and
I've been around shady people before, but this is a different level.
This is somebody could kill you here and nobody would ever know.
Yeah.
It is immediately you're like, oh my god, this is just very it's very different because at least there's a level of structure and societal hierarchy in you in some of the rings of the shady people that you've been around. There's still a level of this is my city.
Yeah, and a respect to the law.
Yeah, this is if you look at somebody the wrong way, things could get bad.
Yeah.
And you're feeling that, and you're not sure how to react to this soldier. You see, she tightens her grip. You put your arm on her, or you grab her hand. How did?
I'm just kind of lightly, even so, he wouldn't even really notice.
Yeah.
Just kind of grabbing her, the side of her hand or whatever.
She kind of twitches for a moment and then relaxes. His name is Marcus. She gives him this look, and he's like, "Okay," and he just says, "Okay, well, we have quite a few soldiers here. There's at least 100 of us, so you're gonna have to give us a little more information than that." And she's like, "His name is Marcus Watson. Is that enough for you?" Just pure attitude, and he just looks. You see, make an insight check.
Natural 20.
Nat 20.
But it's a plus.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it's a minus.
No, plus 6, so 26.
26 total. He definitely knows that name. You
okay.
immediately register that.
Yeah.
He gets this look on his face where there was this stern look on his face, and the moment she says his name, there's this softness, and he kind of looks and just looks at the one behind all of you guys. Fuck. Come on. And Tiana immediately gives you this look, she's like, what the hell is that? And the soldier that was behind you guys walks around you guys. There's this lightness now. Mm-hmm. They're not as tense, and they walk you up to the fortress and walk you right through the front gates. You step into... It's a square fort, right? It's not a castle. It's a square fort. The walls are maybe 15 feet tall. It's not a massive building. There is a large, long building off to the side in the back. Looks like a barracks, and you can see soldiers coming in and out. And then there's one building off to the side. As soon as you walk in off to the right, that is... it's got banners of Alara on it, and you see it's multi-storied. And he starts walking in that direction, puts his hand up, stops you guys there, and just says, wait here, I'll get the captain. And walks off.
Okay.
You are inside the fortress right now. There's lots of soldiers. You're just immediately, at a first glance, you see that there's at least a dozen soldiers patrolling the wall. And when I say this, so the fortress, when you walk in, from the moment that you walk into the gate to the back, maybe 150 feet.
Okay.
It's not a big fortress.
No.
But it's got walls.
Yeah.
And you can see that there's a few buildings in here, room for practice. All in all, you see a dozen or so guards along the wall. You imagine there's at least 30 or 40 soldiers maybe sleeping or inside in a mess hall or whatever. But here in the courtyard with you, at least another 20.
Okay.
So there's a good amount of soldiers here. And most of them give you a look, the ones in here, the ones out there armored, shields, spears, patrolling around the fortress, definitely making the presence of the Empire known. But once you get closer to the coast and farther away from the fort, less and less soldiers, to the point where you didn't see any when you walked into the city. So you get the idea immediately, they're not patrolling the city.
Yeah.
They're patrolling this area.
Yeah.
Making sure that the Empire has a foothold here, but nothing else. Sort of like an embassy. The soldiers in here, some of them are wearing armor, some of them are not. Most of them are in their tunics. There's a few of them that are shirtless. There's women, and they're you see that there's some that are sparring, some that are doing push-ups. A lot of them are just kind of sitting on barrels, sitting on the ground, playing cards. They give you some looks, and they carry on. Nobody comes up to you. and the three of you are standing way out of place in the center of this courtyard. And after, what do you do anything in this moment?
I think I'm just surveying, just like looking around, just trying to get my bearings and...
Tiana kind of looks at you and just says, I kind of regret this. I'm kind of nervous. I want to be honest. I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't expecting this much either.
Eladir's like, that's what I want to hear. That's exactly what I want to hear, Sylvetta. I love the confidence. This is great. This is going great. Honestly, I'd rather be on the ship now. As he says that, you see a large, like, full, like, as like I said that the armor was ceremonial in Qantos, and that the ones here were not. They're very plain. Yeah. This guy comes out in some of the most beautiful armor you have ever seen. The pauldrons have these ornate sort of designs on it. The chest piece of this, a full plate armor. The chest piece is very ornate, beautiful, long flowing crimson captain's cape, cloak, and you can see it as he's walking. He's got a helmet under his arm, a long sword on his side that he's kind of holding with his palm. His palm's just kind of resting on it. And he's walking towards you guys. You can hear the clank of the armor. He's an older guy. Looks to be maybe in his late 50s, early 60s.
Okay.
A receding hairline, very much Vegeta hair. But the hair itself is very wavy and sort of like slicked back and off to the side, so it's just sort of out of his face. Pretty handsome. The best way for me to describe him is that he looks skeletal, but not in a creepy way, not in a scary way. It's just his cheekbones are very high. He's got very gaunt cheeks, dark hazel eyes that sort of, big bushy eyebrows, and his hair is like graying, black but graying. And he's walking towards you, sizes you guys up, points at you, points at her, points at Eladir. Which one of you is the relation of Marcus Watson? And Tia kind of puts her hand up. Right. Well, there's no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to say it. He was stationed at an outpost near the Southern Shield, and, well, we have lost contact. And you see Tia immediately just goes silent, and her face kind of drops. What does that mean? Well, Outpost Namir has been out of contact for quite a few months now, and we sent troops to reestablish contact, and they have yet to return.
Where was the station at?
South of here, just beyond the Southern Shield. It's the first outpost.
If I give you a map, would you be able to mark it?
You see, he raises an eyebrow and he's like, "Sure. Do you plan on traveling there?"
I have to travel that way anyways, so I might as well see.
You heard what I just said.
I did, and no matter what you say, it's not going to change the fact that yes, I am traveling that way.
Tia speaks up. I am too. Eladir, throws his hands up. I guess I am too. I guess I'm going. I am going there, to the place where nobody has heard from them. That's where we're going now. He just turns around and goes and sits in the center of the courtyard and just sits down on the ground crisscross and then just lays back and stares at the sky. It's just on the ground behind you guys. You see the captain is sort of sizing you guys up. He's looking at you. I'm not going to pretend to care, because I don't. I don't know you, and I don't care if you decide to go, but I strongly advise you to reconsider.
I have no choice.
What business do you possibly have?
Business of my own.
You see, he thinks for a moment. You can see he's fingering the edge of his he's holding the helmet. He's sort of grabbing the edge and he's considering. You see he's moving his hands, he's thinking. He's fidgeting. You and your companions can stay here for as long as you like. The soldiers won't bother you, I swear. But the sooner you accept that your brother is dead, the better. Well, I've said what I said, and I'm sorry. And he turns and walks away. The cloak just kind of billows, and he walks off. And you guys are just standing there. And there's another soldier who's kind of with him, the one that went and got him, and he's just kind of, right, well, I will show you to your quarters, I suppose, and just walks off, shows you guys. He brings you to the barracks, the long building there. and there is a sort of back area that's sort of divvied off. And it looks like maybe an officer's quarters or something. Looks like it hasn't been used in forever. One of the rooms looks like it's been, like, there's 3 rooms in the back, 3 doors. And one of them looks like it's just been used as storage, and one of them looks like it hasn't been cleaned. And the other one looks like, okay, like occasionally somebody will stay here. He kind of gestures to it. He's like, well, this is what we have. There's also, and he gestures to the rest of the room. And as you walk in, you just see beds, bunks, like row after row after row of them. About 100 or so beds. Massive just room. And only one aisle sort of divides. It's how do I explain it? The door that you walk in is in the center of the building. So when you walk in, there's like 50 beds to your left, 50 beds to your right, and it looks like there's like a couple of like branching areas where there might be like a mess hall or something in the back. But this is it. This is the room. Very basic, bare bones. And he takes you in all the way to the left to the back of the room, and those 3 doors back there, which, you're looking at like a 6 by 6 foot room, like super small, just enough for you guys to each have a room. And Elder, or one of you can decide to sleep, share a bunk. It's up to you guys, right? But he gestures to it and says, "Well, we'll have mess in a few hours. You'll hear it. You'll hear the bell. Listen, about Marcus." And he gets kind of quiet and leans in. "Some of us think that they're dead. Marcus, I wouldn't say he was my friend, but he was a good soldier, and he always made me laugh. I don't think he's dead, and, well, I hope you find him. If you need anything, just let me know." And he walks off. Tia goes into one of the rooms. She goes into the shitty, nasty one that's like, it's just dusty is what it is. It just hasn't been used in forever. She throws her shit down, just poof, the plume of dust goes up. Sits down on the bed and starts crying. And just like staring at the ground. Eladir, who normally has something to say, just kind of walks up behind you and just like, you turn around, look at him, he just gives you this grimace. He just doesn't really know what to say or how to handle a moment or whatever. We should probably get some rest.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to be clear, I'm getting the bed, right?
Yeah.
Well, now I feel rude.
No, I'll stay with Tia. I think she needs somebody right now.
Okay. And he takes the room. You sit down next to Tia. What do you do?
I think we'll just sit there in silence until she wants to say something, or if not, then we'll just stay like that until mess.
A couple hours go by. Tia's sleeping. A couple hours go by. You hear the bell ring. Like, it's not even a bell. It's like almost like a gong. It's a big bell. You can just hear the ding ding. You hear the mustering, loud voices, laughter, and you just kind of follow the masses. You go into the back, the opposite side of the place where you are, and eventually you find a single file line. They give you guys some stew and some stale bread. You get some food. And as you're getting your food, you see the captain comes out and kind of locks eyes with you and just nods to follow. And you can take your food or whatever. He walks with you into the courtyard. And Eladir kind of looks at you, gives you this look like, are you good? Like, is everything okay? you just give him a, I don't know. Yeah. He just, he does the like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on you. And the captain walks off with you and he says, "I don't know if I introduced myself. My name is Captain Salvi Wright. This here is Fortress of Rien, and these are my troops, the Crimson Mantle. Look, I want to help, and I will be honest with you and transparent that this position here, this fortress, is not a position of glamour. What are you doing here?"
Well, similar to my companion, I have a family member who is missing as well, and I kind of give him like the backstory of growing up in Qantos and my father being who he is, and the work that he did.
You see, when you're talking about the city, he's like, "Oh, I've been there. I know Qantos. It's a beautiful place." You see there's like a little bit of a glow, like a smile kind of pops up where like he's reminiscing and thinking about his early days or whatever. And I don't know your father, but I know the university. It's quite prestigious.
It is.
So I ask again, what brings you here?
Well, a few months ago, my father left suddenly, and I have not really heard from him, but a letter from a colleague of his was given to me. And that colleague led me out somewhere in the Nidoran wilderness, and we came across these ancient ruins where I found this map. And I think this leads to whatever my father has gotten himself into. My father's the only family that I have nobody else, and so it's my responsibility to see if I can find him.
So let me understand this. You are traveling south into uncharted lands off of a hunch in the hopes to find your father. So not only are you following a ghost, but so is your friend, who you also haven't said why you brought her.
Our paths have coincidentally aligned. We weren't supposed to meet. We didn't really know each other until on this road, and I don't know. Knowing who I am, I can handle myself, but I don't know her, and I don't want me not even trying to help her, at least to be on my conscience.
So you mean to leave her behind?
I don't know if that's even an option. Would I prefer it? Yes, but I can't force anybody to do anything that they don't want to do.
What would you ask of me?
Man, I don't even know. Intelligence. Maybe even a guide, if they could even just get us somewhat close. Supplies. Just information on what to expect, or, anything that could possibly help.
You can see he's got a bowl of stew in his hand. He's been kind of sipping it, like miso soup style, just sipping it, chews the occasional vegetable. Mm-hmm. And he gestures with the bowl in his hand, spills some of it, and gestures to the fortress. Do you know anything about this place?
No, not really.
He gets a little quiet, and he starts to walk, and you kind of walk with him, away from everybody. Soldiers that are stationed here as punishment. They are brought here because they are unworthy, or so they are deemed so. I am the leader of the unwanted, if you would put it that way, I suppose. You can see this sort of like this sad smile that comes up on his face. I say this because I don't want you to think that we are not heroes, that we are unwilling to go to the outpost because we're evil or because we don't care. We are here because we have to be. And I have sent too many men. I've sent too many to that outpost that haven't come back, and I don't have it in me to send any more out. If you need supplies, I will give you what I can. If you need a bed, you have it for as long as you need it. He gestures for you to take out your map. You pull it out. He marks the map. That's where the outpost is, and it's like really close to the mountain range. It's like just on the other side. That's the outpost. I don't know what you'll find there, and I would strongly recommend that you don't go. But if that's where you need to go, I wish you luck. Don't travel by night.
Maybe what you need is not a soldier.
I hope you're right. And he chugs the rest of the stew and just wipes his mouth. Good luck. I'll see you off. And
Thank you.
He walks off. You do anything else before bed?
I'll probably just fill in Eladir and Tia. I won't even mention her staying at, I'm not gonna fight her on that. I just know if I was in that circumstance, I would do anything to have to go.
Yeah, because it's been a few hours. She got some shut-eye. When you return to Eladir, she's up, and you see that she is discussing back and forth with, angrily talking to some soldiers, before one of them kind of throws their hands up, and you see she's standing there, and she's got her back facing you, so it's kind of hard to see what's going on, right? Everybody's facing away from you, but the guy throws his hands up and walks away. And when she turns around, she looks at you and she's holding a long sword. And she unsheaths it and starts to swing it. And there's some grace there. And you can see that just by the way she's handling the sword, she seems to know what she's doing. And she swings it a couple times and sort of feels the balance in it. And then locks eyes with you. And for the sake of brevity, You spend some time here in the fort. Eventually, you go to sleep for the evening. Again, evening, quote unquote. You go to sleep for the evening. Sylvetta, you open your eyes to a sort of fog-filled, empty version of this town that you're in. Like, you open your eyes, you were in bed, but now you're standing in the center of this town, in the center of Marine. There's fog, thick fog. You can barely make out the torchlight. And you see this sort of glowing light opposite you that just sort of fills your vision, this glowing light that just gets brighter and brighter before you see a woman that looks like she is made of golden fire. This feminine figure, hair that's like flames just moving and rising, very long flames that just sort of lick upwards, eyes that are bright white. Like, you can't see pupils, no other really distinguishing facial features because it's just sort of blinding to look at her. You can see that she's very lithe, but there's a muscular kind of ness to her. And she walks forward and stops, like, just in your vision. And when I, like, there's no... It's sort of like Sailor Moon when they do their, like, transformation. There's no clothing because they're just light. So it's kind of hard to make out any sort of armor or a feature, what they're wearing or anything. She is just a silhouette of blinding golden light that is just staring at you. And you're kind of having a hard time focusing, and she's staring at you. And you hear her voice sort of echoey, no movement of a mouth or anything, just in your head. You hear her say, "I have slept for millennia. Yours is the first of your blood I have sensed in many ages. They seek a darkness, but fear not, child. What they will find is light." And you open your eyes. And you're in bed, and Tia is now in armor. Looks like armor that... It's not the greatest armor, but they were able to find armor that fit her. And she's sort of hugging this sheathed sword that looks sort of rusted and is just right there. And you wake up. The slightest faint hint of light on the horizon has started to pop up. You're sort of leaving the dark nighttime and starting to go into the dawn period, which lasts about 24 to 48 hours of this, lightness that's coming. So over the next couple days, it'll get brighter before you're in full daylight again.
Yeah.
But you wake up, you start to go about your thing. First of all, what do you do after waking up?
Probably just ponder that for a little bit, but I'm not going to tell anybody anything. It's just too...
You're not even sure if it's
strange.
Yeah. It's like what
an odd dream.
Yeah. You start to go about your motions, and you walk outside, and you see the courtyard is sort of basked in this weird sort of dawn. Like, it's like 5 a.m, 6 a.m. light, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you see a beautiful white horse in the center of the courtyard, and Selvi, the captain, is packing the horse up. And he's in full armor, and he turns around and looks at you and leads the horse over to you. Looks at the horse, kind of strokes its hair, and just says, "I was up all night. I haven't slept. I have done things I am not proud of. I think most of us here have. I think it's time I do something I am proud of. So as long as you need my help, and if you will have me, I will journey with you."
Of course we'll have you. And I stick out my hand to shake his.
He shakes your hand, and you see he sort of unsheaths his sword and raises it into the air. And you hear, the sound, that ring of the sword being unsheathed sort of permeates outward, and there's a sort of quiet that comes over, and soldiers on the wall, you can hear this a conch that gets, not a conch, but a horn that gets blown. Soldiers start to gather around, and you see that after a few moments, there's a bunch of soldiers that have gathered. No, it's not like they're around you. It's more like everybody who is, some people gather around you, some that are on the walls sort of tune in. The guards at the gate sort of lean on their shields and listen in, and he barks outward towards everybody. And you hear him call out. He says, "Men of Marine!" And this sort of like, there's like hushed voices, and then it just goes dead silent. And you're standing in the center of this courtyard with him. "I speak to you not as your captain. I have led you through years of exile. I speak to you now as a man who sees a glimmer of light in this darkness that we've been consigned in. We have all felt the weight of our past and the disgrace that has marked our days here in this fortress, and you see a few soldiers kind of like look around. We've lived like shadows. Shadows of the nights that we once were, haunted by misdeeds and mistakes and misfortunes that brought us here. Before us, and he points at you, he kind of gestures to you and a bunch of glances go your way, there is a daughter, desperate, in search of her father. She's going to the Pale Lands. She cannot and should not undertake this alone. There's some whispers and murmurings and stuff around you. Her father is lost in the shadows, south of the shield. And she needs us, and she needs me. In helping her, I hope that perhaps I can find some measure of solace for the things that I have done, and for the things that I have done in my past. I am not going to dress this in any sort of grandeur or glory. What Sylvetta asks of us, and what I am asking of you, is fraught with danger. But too many of us have come here and learned to hide instead of stand. So I say this now, this is not a command. Those who choose to stay behind do so with my blessing. Your journey is your own, and none can fault you for it. But to those who step forward, know this, the gods will know your name. Who among you will join me? He kind of calls out and gestures out towards everybody, and you see a few soldiers kind of start to like pick up, and he kind of looks around. There's this long pause, and you're just looking around at all these faces of like hundreds of soldiers who are looking back, and he says, who will march south to the Lost Outpost? Who will help? And you see dozens of soldiers walk forward and start to kind of step up, and you hear a few voices. I will. Men, women, all different races sort of walk towards, and he looks around at everybody, and you're over, like, you see he kind of turns to you after all of this, and there's several people who have gathered around, and he looks at you and he says, I don't know what's come over me, and I don't know what it is that you're going to find, but I think part of me wants to be the knight that I used to want to be. So I will go with you. We will go with you. And he gestures, and you see a bunch of like faces, like people have gathered around you now, bunch of faces. And he looks at the horse, he kind of pets it, and he says, who knows? Maybe we'll make it back. And if anything, as long as I can help you on your way and help you find your father, then it'll be worth it. And we will have earned something for ourselves. You see some people nod. So we go with you at first light. And again, for the sake of brevity, over the next day or so, the sun slowly starts to rise. It takes a day or so for everybody to sort of gather their things, but Eladir, over that time, he kind of walks up to you as you're packing your bags in that room, and he just looks at you, and he just, for the first time, there's sort of this sense of like showmanship with him all the time. He like class clown sort of, but for the first time he speaks very quietly, and he just kind of looks at you and says, Sylvetta, I don't know what I've gotten myself into, and I am scared shitless, if I'm going to be honest. I'm not even too sure that I'm going to make it out of this. But gods be damned, Sylvetta, you're moving mountains, and I'm glad to be by your side for this.
Eladir, I promise you, I will do everything in my power to make sure that you return so you can profit off these stories.
You're goddamn right. And you see Tia, who's like at the doorway, like she's kind of leaning on the frame, just kind of comes in and she puts her hand around both of you and says, I will make sure that both of you make it back. And you guys step outside. You leave the fortress over the next couple of days with a company of about 24 soldiers of Marine. You march south out of the fort in full force. People in the streets move out of the way. The sun hasn't crested up yet. It's like morning time. Mm-hmm. It's just perpetual morning. But as you're walking, people move out of the way. Armors have been cleaned. Swords have been sharpened. There are horses. There is a long caravan of about 30 or 40 soldiers, including yourselves. And apparently you have yourself a little party. And you and all of these troops march out of Marine and towards the southern shield. You see this, like in front of you, there's this gleaming armor, these flowing capes. You see the soldiers bearing the crimson banners of Alara. Far off in the distance, you see that mountain range, this lush green mountain range. And the wolves of Alara are marching south for the first time in a long, long time towards the outpost of Numir, the forgotten outpost, the lost outpost. And what you find there, we will have to find out next time.